and upstate.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the big show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. What up, Upstate South Carolina? How do you do? Great to be with you once again. I am Rob Brown, your ever so humble yet frequently correct and dare I say dashingly good-looking host back in the network studio. The gentleman in charge of buttons, switches, levers, knobs, gears, pulleys, fulcrums, and other assorted equipment required to make us sound as good as we do. The great one, hashtag Dad Kicks, Colonel Grudge, the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate, the conductor of the symphony of sound that is the Rob Brown Show. He is the great one, Lonzo. What up, Zo? Happy, what is today? Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, buddy.
Sorry, I just saw a picture or video of James Harden with a mask on, and it threw me.
Was it like a bucket attached to the
No, because it's the same color as his beard. And you find yourself looking for the mouth. It's like, where's his mouth? Because it's the same exact. I know he did that on purpose, which is hilarious, but still, it just kind of, because his beard doesn't look real, and it has never looked real. It looks like a G.I. Joe hair.
You know what else doesn't look real? The statistics of Russel Westbrook this year. Hashtag segue, hashtag stick to sports. How about that, Lonzo? Pretty solid segue there, if I may say so myself.
That's why you are a professional.
At loose definition of the word, but I will take it. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Are we stocked, locked, and loaded for sports talk today? We get the NFL schedule dropping tomorrow evening. And something very interesting that is a coincidence with the college football schedule this season. We are going to talk about that coming up a little bit later on in the show. You will notice, ladies and gentlemen, it has been roughly 3 weeks, a little over, since the last time that we heard anything about the Deshaun Watson scenario. Well, Peter King has stepped in, and he's got some thoughts, including the potential destination of Deshaun Watson when it becomes time for him to move on. Many of us are beginning to suspect that the reason we have heard little to nothing out of either of the attorneys in this litigation, because of the fact that a settlement is coming, which would likely free up Deshaun Watson to be moved by the Houston Texans. Where might he end up, though? That the question to be answered, and SI's Peter King took a run at that. Urban Meyer's coaching staff seems to be split already based on one decision that Herb has recently made. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment as well. It is going to be slammed up, locked up, busy on the broadcast today. So, Lonzo, with that being said, let's just jump right to it, shall we?
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here? Lunch!
What in the wild world of sports is it going on here? Well, that's why we have the lunch breakdown. To inform, enlighten, and of course, entertain and answer that question for you right here on the Rob Brown Show every single day. The lunch breakdown, the 3 most important things going on in sports that you need to know about as we head into the afternoon. Whether you're spending your lunch break with your friends, family, coworkers, or the dog, this shall be the scuttlebutt around the lunch table. We start with item number 1. As I mentioned just mere moments ago, the NFL has moved to its 17-game schedule. We knew that. But that creates kind of an interesting discussion that may be picking up some steam in the world of sports. We know that college football's national championship game is played on a Monday evening. And the reason it's been played on a Monday evening is because it takes place during the National Football League playoffs. And the NCAA/playoff committee, they don't want to have to put the college football national championship game up against the NFL. Not because it would get beat, although it probably would cumulatively, but because they don't want to get cut into the advertising revenue by a drop of numbers. Well, check this out. With the 17-game season, the final week will be played a week later with the NFL now going to a 17-game season, with the final week being played a week later, the NCAA could theoretically move into that Saturday night window where there are no NFL games, meaning that Saturday, the final week of the season, when there are no games on a Saturday night, might be open for a college football game. So I don't know that this is one of the most important 3 topics in the world of sports today, but I do know that if we can get college football's championship match moved to a Saturday evening, I am entirely in favor of it, especially since I now live in the Eastern time zone. The NFL has opened the door for that to be a reality this year by moving their final week back a week and not putting it up against the NFL's wildcard playoff round. So if the NCAA and the College Football Playoff Committee don't have serious discussions about moving that national championship game to Saturday, I will be thoroughly disappointed. That's nothing new, but I will be nonetheless.
Well, Saturdays are known for college football, so wouldn't it be awesome if the championship of a game that's actually played on Saturdays was played on Saturday? What a novel idea. And I knew that was because of the NFL that they weren't doing it, but now that window, they've got to do this. But are they so stuck in tradition that they won't? We will see.
What a wonderful question. What a wonderful question to which I wish I had an answer, but I don't, because again, NCAA. So this year's college football championship game weekend, the weekend of week 17, well, I guess week 18 now of the NFL regular season, in a week where there are no Saturday night games. Could we see the national championship game move to a Saturday? Fingers are crossed. Yes. Item number 2 on the lunch breakdown. Lonzo, I don't mean to excite you. Please remain seated throughout item number 2 of the lunch breakdown. But an actual boxing match between actual boxers that I am actually looking for is on. Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua. According to fight promoter Eddie Hearn, that fight is on for August. It will take place in Saudi Arabia. We do not have an exact date yet. Hearn said either August 7th or 14th. I think it's a very bad secret that the fight is happening in Saudi Arabia. It's the same people we did the deal with for Andy Ruiz. That event was spectacular as partners. They were fantastic as well. Anthony Joshua won his belts from Mexican-American Andy Ruiz Jr. in Diriyah on the outskirts of the Saudi capital, Riyadh, in December of 2019. Hearn said, quote, "We're very comfortable. Anthony's comfortable. He knows these people. They delivered on every one of their promises last time. We're ready to go." End quote. Hearn said it made more sense to go for the 14th in terms of the global spectacle because the Tokyo Olympics will finish up on August 8th. He said they are working to nail down the date and venue in the next few days. Fury and Joshua signed a 2-fight deal back in March to unify the title. And now we have date number 1. Well, at least a couple of dates that will be date number 1 in August. For those of you that have been excited about Logan and Jake Paul's venture into professional boxing, Lonzo, I've said it before, I've said it again. If boxing does not do everything in their power and then more to promote this fight, to give this fight the hype it deserves, to open the eyes of people who are boxing fans like, Mayweather, McGregor, and Paul via retired NBA point guard, if they don't do everything they can to open the door to turn this into the fight that it actually is on paper, then even your boy will have to walk away and say boxing doesn't care anymore, because this, Lonzo, this is a super fight.
The only negative in this whole thing is that it's not going to be in America. So American boxing fans can't go unless they're rich, and that may be all that gets to go to these things anyway.
I was going to say, I don't think how Vegas works, buddy.
I'd never been there before. So, there are a lot of celebrities in the audience. So I guess they would travel over there too. Saudi Arabia seems to be the destination for a lot of things like this. And I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a good fight. It really is.
I could convince the higher ups at ESPN Upstate to send us to do our show live from Saudi Arabia at this fight.
You go for it. I'm guessing it would require flying, which I will not do. So you have fun with that.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a bus ride, Lonzo, to Saudi Arabia,
or a boat trip. There are boats. I can go on a boat.
So you just refuse to fly? You just won't do it?
Yeah, I'm not doing it. I've 52 years. No desire.
And I don't know, and tell me to shut up if this is not afraid of flying, or have some sort of stance against flying.
Well, there are a couple things. One, my namesake died in a plane crash.
Okay.
And that's always made me, deep down made me worried about going on a plane. The other thing is I get sick going through the mountains now and have anxiety attacks. What the heck's going to happen to me on a plane? No, thank you. And you don't want to see me panicked on a plane, because it would probably end up with me in jail more than likely. So no, you see situations where you might be putting yourself in a position that would be bad, and you just avoid those situations. And that's what I'm doing.
Fair enough. All right.
I have put out there one last thing. I put out there, the only time I would ever fly is if Harrison Ford flew me.
I accept that condition.
Because if I'm going to die in a plane, I want to die with Han Solo.
Correct.
Because I will be famous forever for that.
And imagine the jokes on the way down.
Oh, yeah.
That's no moon. It's a mountain. All right.
As long as he doesn't say, get off my plane.
Item number 3 in the lunch breakdown today. U.S. soccer fans yesterday got a bit of a shock to the system. The U.S. men's national team submitted its 40-man provisional roster for the CONCACAF Nations League. And for the first time in a very hot minute, names like Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore are not on that roster. Rising stars and stalwarts like Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, all included. The U.S. set to play Honduras in the semifinals on June 3rd, with the final and third place games set to take place 3 days later. Mexico will play Costa Rica in the other semifinal, and all matches will be played at Empower Field at Mile High in Denver. And announcing the provisional rosters of the 4 teams, CONCACAF noted that the final 23-player rosters will be confirmed a week prior to the start of the competition. After the official announcement, changes will only be allowed in the event of a force majeure or injury up until 24 hours before each team's first match. Greg Berhalter, the new manager for the U.S. national team, has long been looking at different midfield and forward options, and in recent years has chosen not to call up former mainstays. Bradley and Altidore join that list here. Bradley last suited up for the United States in the 2-0 Nations League defeat to Canada back in October of 2019. Altidore's last appearance even further in the past, the 2019 Cup final, the Gold Cup final, in which they lost to Mexico in July 7th of 2019. Now, Altidore was still thought to be in the mix for the forward position, one that is viewed to be as wide open as any position on the pitch, but the Toronto FC striker has been dealing with injuries, and the preference was for him to stay with his club and recover, as opposed to heading to Switzerland for a pre-Nations League friendly. Instead, Berhalter has opted for the likes of Barnsley forward Daryl Dike, Nicholas Giacchani of SC Caen, Werder Bremen's Josh Sargent, and Gyasi Zardes will be on that roster as well. Bradley has been a steady presence for Toronto, and it was assumed that his familiarity with the U.S. staff would give him an opportunity to get back onto the pitch for the red, white, and blue. Why am I bringing this up? Why does it matter? Because, ladies and gentlemen, as a fan of United States soccer, I am excited to say, finally, there is new blood. Finally, there is roster turnover. I like and appreciate all that Michael Bradley has done for the U.S. men's national team. He put them on a pedestal that they are still trying to elevate from. I like and appreciate everything that Josie Altidore has done as a United States men's national team member. I think that he really kind of elevated the expectations that we have out of strikers on this side. I think he kind of started to get us away from the spray and pray and started working towards being a men's national side that created opportunities instead of just hoped they come along for us to capitalize on. But the time is here for a youth movement, and the youth is here for a youth movement. You heard the names that I just mentioned. Guys like Pulisic and McKinney, who are getting starting minutes in bigger European leagues against better competition. This is what we have been working for. This is what we have been working towards. This is what Greg Berhalter has been trying to put into play. A youth movement with young players who are playing better competition with better quality instruction around the world. Those guys are ready to make the turn. They are ready to go to the next level. And the U.S. men's national team, I hate to say it, as a huge fan, is rapidly running out of time to take advantage of the window that is open right now without having to push the reset. I still don't know that I love Greg Berhalter as the manager. I still don't know that I'm fully on board with some of the ways that the USSF has been working lately. But Lonzo, I think we've seen this time and time and time again. Sometimes a jolt in the arm is exactly what's needed. You've got young players that are quality enough players to be on the biggest European rosters around the world and be getting starting minutes. Why not go ahead while we're in a window? There's not much happening. It's not quite qualifying time yet. It's not quite Gold Cup time yet. Put the young guys together. Let them start to grow as a side, as a squad, and elevate this country to the next level of international soccer that it frankly should have been at for the last 5 or 6 years.
And who knows? Maybe they could compete. Maybe they could win. When I recognize the names of the people on the men's soccer team, they've been there way, way too long. That means I've heard them way too much. I love the idea of them bringing in some young guys, and you're bringing in speed, you're bringing in youth, you're bringing in energy, and these guys, I'm sure they want to win. I'm not saying the old guys don't, but they've been there and they've lost. Bring someone in. Just the freshness of the whole thing. It sounds really, really cool.
Mucho excited for that. Mucho excited for that. All right, soccer fans, now is your opportunity. Want your thoughts on whether Greg Berhalter is making the right call here? The answer to me is a clear and obvious yes, but I'm down to talk a little footy with you. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a moment from right now. Urban Meyer's staff already split, already in factions. Will Trevor Lawrence have to suffer because of it? We'll address that next on The Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo, you, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show.
Josh, what's up, fella? Good to see you, pal. Appreciate you stopping by, man. Yeah, it is a great opportunity, and it's an opportunity that lets them really work on building some chemistry and some character without immense pressure on them, right? Like I go back and I think about that. I think about that loss to Costa Rica a couple of years back that cost us a visit to the last World Cup, and I look at Pulisic down on the field crying after it was over because he missed his first opportunity. The guy could have represented the U.S. in maybe 4 World Cups. Now maybe he'll get 3 if he's lucky. And I don't wonder if it wasn't just a little too late in terms of trying to introduce a a new bit of chemistry into the lineup at a spot where we should have been already qualified, right? So yeah, this is a big opportunity, and I'm very excited about it. Very excited about it. Everybody else on the stream, welcome in. Good to see you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Leave us a comment. And by the way, I think I mentioned this in the past, but just in case I haven't brought it up, I have been asked a couple of times why it is that some folks' chats show up here on the stream and some don't. And the answer, ladies and gentlemen, as I have found out, is that StreamYard only grabs and populates the comments from the primary stream locations. It does not take them from the second. So what I mean by that is we have 3 primary streaming destinations, which are the ESPN Upstate Facebook page, at the Rob Brown Show Twitter page, and on the Rob Brown Show on YouTube. If you are watching on the ESPN Facebook page, the Rob Brown Show Twitter page, or the Rob Brown Show YouTube page, then those are direct feeds, and your comments will be populated onto the stream for us here in StreamYard. If you are watching off of a secondary destination, so if you found it anywhere else but one of those spots, then yours do not get thrown into the basic feed, which means they won't pop up on StreamYard, which means Lonzo and I won't be able to see them. So that is why we get, I think, the majority of the chats, but not all of them. Technology.
You explained it so well.
I've been told I have a tendency to use 500 words to say what can be said in 5, Lonzo.
Good thing you're doing for a living something that requires talking.
Are there any negative traits that you learn from radio that carry over in your day-to-day life that can be frustrating? Like, is there any habit you've developed on air or around it that you do in real life that your wife's like, Lonzo?
I'll have to think about that because I was already a smart aleck, which got me whipped a great deal as a kid. So maybe I've honed that, and there are times maybe I shouldn't say things that I do. So maybe that's part of it. Knowing when to not say something. I've lost that in radio because it's always getting in there trying to say your thing, and now I do that at home. Oh, I know what. If someone pauses, I immediately start talking.
You're filling airspace.
Yes. And so if you're talking to someone who hesitates a lot, they really start getting angry with me because I just jump in there. As soon as there's a pause, boom, I'm in there. It's like I will give you a second, but if you're not going to continue to talk, I think you're done. So I don't know if that's my fault or their fault, but that does happen way too much for me. And then I feel bad about it.
I do the same thing. I spent so many years
20 seconds
doing my show by myself that, like producing, hosting, answering phones, everything, that silence.
Hey, Rob can read, so he says. Email Rob Brown at ESPNUpstate.com and we'll put him to the test. This is the Rob Brown Show, local sports talk on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate, Rob Lonzo, and you here on the broadcast today. Jeff Darlington is a reporter for the 4-letter. Jeff Darlington works for ESPN. And yesterday, old Jeffrey was on the 4-letter network, and he got asked a question as an NFL insider about the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I found it somewhat interesting. Jeff was asked about the potential signing of one Timmy Terrific, Timothy Richard Tebow. And Jeff said something interesting about the coaching staff.
NFL reporter Jeff Darlington is here with us. So, Jeff, Tebow hasn't played a regular season game since 2012. Never caught a pass in college. Never caught a pass in the NFL. It sounds like not everyone's doing back handsprings here about the expected signing. What do you hear?
David, no, they are not. And when you cite the resume, when you talk about all these things, it sounds pretty wild. And that certainly is the mindset of those in the Jaguars building. Not everybody. Obviously, Urban Meyer is the one behind all of this, but not everybody in the Jaguars building is thrilled with this. They don't think that it necessarily sends the proper message to the rest of the team in the locker room and the guys trying to make this team. Urban Meyer, though, quite the opposite, thinks that this can be a cultural jolt within the locker room to kind of send the message that Urban wants. Now, I covered Tebow pretty extensively back in 2011, basically lived in Denver throughout that whole experience. And what I can tell you is that Tebow's leadership might be a little bit different in the NFL than what it was in college when Urban Meyer remembered him. So when I talk to coaches and players in the NFL, they do look at this and say, if you're looking for somebody to change culture, it's not necessarily a guy like Tebow, especially at this point in his career. So there's definitely some differences of opinions within Jacksonville, but hey, Urban Meyer runs the show now, so he'll get the chance to show that Tebow does deserve the chance in the NFL. Something obviously other people don't necessarily think he does.
So Jeff Darlington says that Herb's staff is split. Not everybody, quote, doing back handsprings, end quote, about Tebow making his way onto the Jags roster. Said he understands that Herb is trying to do this to bring a bit of a cultural shift into the locker room, but also that a number of staff members say that it doesn't send a great message to the guys that are trying to make the team, the guys that have made football their life. They're guys that have been willing to do anything to get onto the roster in whatever position is asked of them. I'm going to go two different directions in this, Alonzo, and then I want your thoughts. Number one, just like with any other player, I don't really care what message it sends if the guy's on the roster, if it's helping me win. Now, obviously, I have some exceptions to that. If a guy is like a career criminal, I don't want him on my team. There isn't it. But we're not saying that about Tebow. Tebow is a guy that folks are saying, shouldn't be on the roster because, hey, he's had his opportunity. He's 33. You're just bringing this guy in who's, by the way, never played tight end at any level, and you're just giving him one of the spots on the roster, whereas you have guys on the roster that have played tight end their entire career and have worked their asses off to get to the league. My response to that is, Lonzo, I don't really care. If Tebow can come in there and make the team honestly, genuinely, not just as a spectacle, if he can genuinely make the Jacksonville Jaguars a better football team by playing tight end, then you should absolutely want him. But if you are genuinely bringing him in as a circus act, if you're bringing him in as an attention grab, if you're bringing him in as anything other than a legitimate player that can make the team better, I would have a problem with it. But that's why he's going to go to camp. That's why he's going to work out and try to earn a roster spot, Lonzo. Thoughts on that aspect?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First of all, the people who don't like Tebow, they just don't like him. They'll find any reason to question why he's getting what he's getting. They didn't want him to play baseball. They didn't want him in the NFL. If he earns a spot, good for him. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you were out of radio before you came here, right?
Yes, I was. Correct.
All right. So you came here and you took a spot that a lot of other people wanted.
Correct.
And some of those people were upset about it.
Yes, they told me about it in no uncertain terms.
Yes.
Some still do.
And I know how it sounds, but so what? I mean, it's business. It's absolutely business. Some people will look at Tebow and go, he doesn't deserve it. And there is anger. I've watched Get Up and some other things this morning. There's this downright vitriol towards Tebow. How dare he take someone's spot? Well, he's taking someone's spot because someone thought he should. And if you're better than him, chances are you're going to beat him out. He hasn't made the team yet. He really hasn't even signed the team yet, signed for the team yet. And look at all this excitement and anger over a 1-15 team. How dare this 1-15 team bring someone like this in? How dare they do that? Because bringing him in is going to make him worse, right? It can only make him one game worse. If you think that he has that much power to sway one way or the other, he's not playing quarterback. He's coming in to play tight end if he makes the team.
I agree with all of that, except for one thing. The only thing that I disagree with, and I may be taking what you said a step too far, though, based on my experience, especially working down in the FLA. I feel like you're in a camp, but I'll lay it out and then I'll let you tell me if I'm wrong, so. There was, when I was working down in Florida during the Tebow days, both as a Bronco, as a Gator, and as a Jet. There is this thing about Tebow that creates this scenario where criticizing Tim Tebow is, oh, you hate him. You hate him. You hate Tim Tebow. You're saying mean things because you don't like him. You're just mad at him for his whatever, fill in the blank, his political views, his religious views, his attitude, whatever you want to call it. And that's not true. I criticize Tim Tebow just like I criticize every other football player when criticism is deserved. You are not above reproach as a football player because you're a really good dude off the football field. Outside of that, everything you said, I agree, spot on.
I don't know why you took that personally because I wasn't even talking about you.
Well, that's why I said,
I was
not be that direction.
It was mostly directed at Booger McFarland.
Absolutely fair.
Yeah, I mean, and it's popping up on my Twitter. The thing I watched this morning, watch him. He's angry about it. And I get that's part of his persona, but he's actually been on these airwaves before, and he seems like he can be a goofball, and he's very tolerant because of some of the people that he used to work with. But he seems downright angry, and the people who don't like him, they just don't like him. And I'm not bringing up the religion or anything like that. They seem to be offended that he's getting the opportunity, and they shouldn't be. He's getting the opportunity, and again, like we talked about yesterday, this is a major distraction. And here's one thing that Boog brought up this morning: he's taking the spotlight off of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is probably going, Thank you. It's enough pressure that I'm coming in as the number one pick, which usually doesn't pan out too well, to a team that's 1-15. Thank you for taking that pressure off of me. I don't think it bothers Trevor Lawrence.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Lonzo. I'm glad you brought that up because you and I yesterday agreed that this was likely a move, if not the number one intention, that at least some part of it was designed specifically to shield Trevor Lawrence from criticism, to give the media another spectacle to focus on while TL16 goes through his growing pains. But I wonder if there's not a secondary, unintended, unforeseen ramification for Trevor that might pop up because of this. And I will address that next on the Rob Brown Show. Rob, Lonzo, you, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen.
What business isn't about who you know? Tim used his network, his relationship with Urban to get an opportunity. Can't fault the guy for that. If he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out. People are acting like Tebow stealing a paycheck from someone's mailbox. Yeah, I agree with that, Keegan. I mean, look, and here, let's be honest with each other. I am here because I knew Mark Ryan, right? Like, I'm here, and I beat out some other very qualified, very capable candidates for this gig. A gig that I likely would not have had the opportunity to ever even audition for because I knew Mark, right? Because Mark and I worked together, and Mark knew what I was capable of. Now, granted, just like Tim Tebow, he still got to show up, or I still had to show up and earn the job, right? I still had to show up and show out. I still had to try out, audition. I still had to bring my A game. I had to put on the best shows that I could put on while I was here. I had to adapt to adversity. Remember, my first audition show was the day after Kobe Bryant died, right? So when I came up here, and Zoe, I don't know if you heard it while you stepped away, we're comparing. Keegan said, what business isn't about who you know? You know, I wouldn't have gotten the opportunity to come up here and audition and try out for this gig if I didn't know Mark Ryan, if I didn't have that previous working relationship with him, if I hadn't showed him in the past what I was capable of, to make him believe that I could come up here and give it a shot. But I still had to try out. I still had to work out. I still had to audition. I still had to sit with Diesel for a couple of days and bring my A game and put on the best show I could put on and prove myself to earn the job. But it's a job I probably wouldn't have had a tryout for had I not had a connection in the first place, which is exactly why I'm not mad at Tim Tebow for taking this shot. If he thinks he's got it and he used the connection to get the tryout, I don't care, because he's still got to show up to camp and show that he can do it.
You know, the true test for you was sitting across from that perfect beard for a couple of days and having to try and focus on trying to win a job while you're dealing with that.
Just to not get lost in Diesel's eyes while he's trying to do the lunch breakdown.
Yeah, it's endless, like the universe. You know, the other thing, them saying that he's taken a roster spot. So what you're saying is he is the worst player on the team. So he's the dead last player on the team. That he's not better than any of the other 50. It's 52 or 53 on the roster, right?
Yeah.
So the other 52 people on that team are better than him, and he's just barely hanging on. So the player that he would be replacing would make that much of a difference.
Yeah, he's taking a roster spot. No, he's not. He's having the opportunity to earn a roster spot. Now, we do have
Come back.
Wanted.
Well, opinions are like, we'll say, everybody has one.
Call 844-GSP-ESPN. Local sports
Harley in the next break.
Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
So we're talking terrific Timothy Richard Tebow and his opportunity to earn a spot with the Jags. And you know, look, Zoe and I cover on one half of this conversation, come down on the same spot. That is to say, did Tim use a connection to get this opportunity? Hell yeah. And as somebody who took an opportunity to get this job, I have no issue with it at all. But 90% of business isn't what you know, it's who you know. Anybody that's played the game knows that, man. I only got the opportunity to audition for this gig because I had worked with Mark Ryan in the past, and I had reached out to Mark, and Mark knew what I was capable of when he took a shot to get me lined up in a shot that I am very sincere when I say I will forever be grateful for, because he put his neck out there. But I still had to come up here and earn the roster spot, man. I still had to come in for ESPN Upstate OTAs. I still had to come in and try out, put my best foot forward, fight through some adversity. Remember, my first audition show was the day after Kobe Bryant died. So I tried to do this fun, upbeat, energetic, lighthearted, goofy show. The day after Kobe died, I had to find a way through that. And I did a good enough job that the powers that be decided I was the guy. I don't have any issue with that. Here's where I do have a concern. the report from Jeff Darlington is that the Jaguars staff is split on the decision to sign Tim Tebow. There are some folks who think is a good idea. There are some folks who do not, who think it is a bad idea, who think it is not the right decision, who think it's more of a sideshow act than an actual performance. Now, whether or not those people are justified in their belief is another conversation. What I am going to keep an eye on is this. Is Herb capable of fixing this, whether it's by having Tebow come out, show out, ball out, and make the roster so Herb can go, do you trust me now? Or by soothing the concerns of the split Jaguar staff before OTAs start in less than a week. And that's going to be the challenge that Urban Meyer faces coming into his first OTA as an NFL coach. The concern that I have here, Lonzo, is that if this coaching staff is already divided and they're divided over one guy getting a tryout, if this coaching staff is already upset enough that Jeff Darlington is in the middle and the dirty laundry's been aired out already, then I feel bad for Trevor Lawrence because he's clearly in a coaching staff that is not gelled together. And yes, it's a first-year guy, first-year head coach who's never done it at the NFL level before. Of course, there are going to be some kinks in the hose that have to get worked out. But if one guy getting a tryout is enough to divide this staff down the middle around Herb, Lonzo, then maybe Jacksonville's in a deeper hole than we thought they were. And maybe the challenge ahead of TL16 is even bigger than we thought it was going to be initially.
This may be controversial, but I don't believe it.
It's
don't.
On the internet, Lonzo.
I don't believe it.
It's on the internet, Lonzo.
I know. I just don't believe it. I don't. The media storm that we saw start yesterday, the huge wave over some older guy coming back into the league, and how people are so fascinated with it. Is it a slow sports news day? That could be part of it. I don't believe that the staff is divided until I see someone throwing punches on the sideline. Who was that? Kevin Gilbride? I'm trying to remember who. And Buddy Ryan. This is
Buddy Ryan. What a blast of the past.
Yeah, Buddy Ryan. I think that's who Buddy Ryan punched on the sideline. So until I see something like that, I don't entirely believe it. Everywhere you look, even now on the screen, Tebow. It's amazing how one guy can get all this coverage. And they doubted him in baseball. He reached heights that no one thought he would get. And at the time, I worked with someone who I love, but he is kind of a baseball purist and would just have this smirk every time Tim Tebow was mentioned. And some people have that smirk every time Tim Tebow is mentioned. Can you think of anyone else who's a good guy and was a great player in college and a decent player everywhere else getting so much controversy over being a good guy?
So here's the thing. And this is, all right, you just did the thing I said. Tebow doesn't get controversy for being a good guy. He got controversy for being a mediocre football player, celebrated as if he was the second coming of football.
All right, so why is he being brought in places? Is it because of his talent? Or is it because he's a good guy?
Brought in a place. He's been out of the league for 9 years.
Been brought, when I say places, I'm talking about the couple of teams he played for in the NFL and baseball.
He was brought into Denver as an experiment.
And won playoff games.
Won a playoff game.
Oh, I'm sorry. I put plural in there.
8 football team with the second best defense in the league that year that bailed him out. Then he went to the Jets and couldn't crack the starting rotation. All right? And I don't think here I will tell you the one thing that's frustrated me about Tim Tebow. And I'm not saying this is you. I'm speaking as somebody who used to broadcast down in the Tebow hood in the Sunshine State of the FLA. Tebow doesn't crack the starting rotation for the New York Jets. And the phone call that I got a dozen times, then a dozen times more, Lonzo, was they're only keeping Tebow down because they don't like him and his message. Yeah, definitely not because an NFL team is like, hey, let's make ourselves worse at football so that this guy can't wear eye black with Bible verses on it. That was the goal. That's what the Jets thought. Let's keep him on the sideline and be worse for it so that we don't have to look at him, I guess. It's a silly
Listen,
thing.
I am not saying that if you're anti-Tebow, you're in league with Satan. You may be. you might be. I mean, that's up to you. That's on you and your soul. But there's an appearance by some people that might be so.
There's an appearance by some people that might be so is the sports talk radio version of many people are saying, which is what you say when nobody's saying that thing, so you don't want to take credit for it, but you want to say it anyway. Many people are saying is a way to say, here's an unpopular opinion that I have, but I don't want to be judged for it.
You're accusing me of generalizing, and I'm not doing that. And what do I care what people think about that? You know, if I get hate coming at me because I like this dude and I think it's cool, and I also gotta say I really love this chaos. I do. I love the chaos because it makes no sense at all. All this media, like I said, it's a huge storm over a 33-year-old guy changing position, and no one can stop talking about it.
So this whole thing, here's why this is really intriguing to me, and then we'll take a break. Why this is really intriguing to me, though, is that when I put my show prep together, and this is on me, and the comments that are coming in the text, etc. When I put this together, the whole angle I had on it, Lonzo, was how does this affect Trevor Lawrence? How does this affect the former Clemson Tiger before he even gets on the football field for the first time as a Jacksonville Jaguar? How does this impact the opportunity for Trevor Lawrence to be the guy he was drafted to be down there in Duval?
Is it going to stop him from playing quarterback? Is all this media attention that's looking that way is he going to be, hey man, look at me? Or is he going to, do his job and not have to worry about that part of the NFL till later, till once he gets good at playing quarterback, then when that shifts back towards him, he'd be more prepared for it. And you get to see the extreme of the media coming after, not necessarily coming after, but coming towards one individual. So you get to see what the exact extreme of that is. He's going to get a lot of attention, but he's not going to get Tebow attention. And now he's going to see how this guy handles all that. I think it's a learning experience for him.
I agree with all that. What is Trevor going to do? Trevor's going to go out there and he's going to work and he's going to do his job. The
and you know what else he's going to do? He's going to lose games because he's on a 1-15 team.
He's a rookie.
And people have lost sight of that.
And he's a rookie on a 1-15 team with a brand new head coach from the college ranks who's never done it in the league before. Of course he's going to lose games. If the Jags are over 500 this year, Lonzo, it'll be one of the greatest accomplishments in recent memory. The question the angle I was going with here is, if the Jags coaching staff really is split already, does that make Trevor Lawrence's job that much more difficult? And the answer would be yes. Now, you say you don't believe Jeff Darlington, and that's fine. I followed Jeff Darlington for a long time. I like the guy. The reason he's not up there.
By the way, I am not questioning his integrity, but his sources may not be telling the truth.
Sure, very much. I don't see what anybody has the gain to make that up, right? I don't think anybody in that staff has already got eyes on Herb's job, though I could be wrong.
Satan.
Oh, yes, that's right. Forgot about him. For every time that an athlete thanks God for helping them win a football game, the devil takes credit for making them lose one. I'll tell you what, let's take a break. I got a couple of texts that have come through on the text line. We will address those when we come back here in just a minute. My name is Rob. Lonzo's at the helm. You're listening to The Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Harden Davidson.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate.
Harley-Davidson of Greenville is open. And not only are they open, but they want you to take a look outside right now. They want you to see the beautiful spring weather, and then they want you to realize that there is nothing better than being on the back of a brand new Harley-Davidson rolling around the upstate in the spring. There is nothing better. There's nothing better. And that is why right now, if you bring in your used bike and use it to trade up towards any new 2021 Harley-Davidson motorcycle, you are going to get up to 120% of the NADA trade-in value to put towards a new ride. You've been thinking to yourself, man, I've been on the same bike for a few years. I want to get out there and enjoy and live my life a little bit. Well, we have good news for you. Now's the perfect opportunity. Bring that old bike in, trade it in towards a 2021 Harley, and get up to 120% of NADA trade-in value to put towards that bike right this very second. And also, it is Ladies Month at Harley-Davidson of Greenville. Buy one ladies accessory or ladies apparel and get 25% off of the second item. Listen, I know there are a lot of lady riders around the upstate. I see y'all when I'm out there churning up the back roads on my bike. Harley knows you're there too, and they want to give you a little something. Buy one ladies accessory or ladies apparel and get 25% off the second item, all during Ladies Month. Check out their beautiful showroom at 30 Chrome Drive in Greenville, 30 Chrome Drive, or see their entire inventory and selection online at upstateharley.com, upstateharley.com. It is Harley-Davidson of Greenville. Bum, ba, da, 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 bum, ba. Oh, man. Is it, Lonzo, too early in the day to need a nap? Do you take now? Are you a nap guy? Are you a fan of La Siesta?
Back for the 14 years when I did the morning show, a nap was essential.
Mandatory.
But now, no. But as an elderly person, I just nod off in front of the TV.
As an elderly person.
Or in my case, I nod off playing a game.
You've been on that Skyrim flow heavy, man.
Because I'm waiting for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition to drop next week, and so I don't want to start a new game. And I've been trying to gain 1 million gold coins. and I've made it up to 500,000 gold coins. What's the reason for this? Just to see if I can do it. And I'm not sure I can do it by next week, but I'm trying.
If you are close, but the new game drops, are you finishing before you switch over?
I can do both. But I don't know if I'll be close or not.
The old multitasking approach.
Text us anytime at 71307. Use keyword ESPN followed by your comment. Local sports talk on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
Wrapping up hour number 1 of the Rob Brown Show. A couple of texts that have come in on the Eagles Market text line. Text is 71307 ESPN. Hey, Rob, can't wait for Clemson's baseball game against the California Gamecocks tonight. Told you so. That's never going away. Never. Also, by the way, and I don't know. I don't feel the need. Did you see Lonzo? And I'll let you help me decide.
Did I see someone on our site saying that he should be fired? Yeah, I saw that. Is that what you're bringing up?
It turned out it wasn't just calling it California, but apparently he also plagiarized like the last 2 minutes of his graduation speech, like straight up ripped it off, which I know gets you kicked out of college if you're a student.
I think if I recall, someone else did that, and now they're president. But I could be wrong. You know.
We have had a long history of that. Anyway, I don't know, man. It's not I don't think it's, I don't know. I can get the angle of, are you really getting the best for the university when outside influences are making decisions of who gets staffed where, right? Because if I can draw the connection that the president has his job because of political connections, then Frank Martin has his job because of political connections isn't that much of a stretch anymore. And I think that might be the crossover of where it's a sports story. We'll talk more about that in the next hour. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. ESPN Upstate.
ESPN Upstate, WYRD Greenville, WORD Spartanburg, W249DL Greenville, W246CD Spartanburg, WFBC FM HD3.
An Odyssey station.
So I'm seeing a tweet. Nice. I'm seeing a tweet that says Caslin submitted his resignation to the board of trustees, but they didn't accept it.
I wonder if that's a save face, though, to be honest with you. Like somebody give him an elbow and a nudge.
Like he winked while he did it? I don't know.
Or like somebody in a higher position was like, hey, man, we're not going to let you go, but turn in your resignation so it looks like you're remorseful for that mistake, and then we won't let you go. And then you can say, since the school senate has decided I can stay in power, I will stay. I don't know, man. Like I said, the only connection I could draw to make it a sports story was if it is true that he has the job because the governor said, I want him to have the job. Because remember, there was a pretty big backlash about him from him getting the job from the faculty of the university. If you can prove that the governor got him the job and let him keep the job, then it's not that much of a stretch anymore to believe that the push to keep Frank Martin when it appears most fans want him gone is also being pushed through political channels. But then again, Lonzo, so is everything.
Or maybe he tendered his resignation to the University of California. Southern California, my bad.
Joke, and I wish we would have saved that for on air.
Yeah, well, that's a Facebook exclusive. You're welcome. Just play the promo where you're singing Sarah McLachlan, and you were pretty much on key. I just wanted to point that out.
I felt like we nailed it in that segment.
You know, when you're a talented musician, it's hard to be off key, even if you try.
Well, I have no idea what being a talented musician is like.
Warning.
Man, check this out.
For an official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Our Numeros of the Rob Brown Show is right back here on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Text line 71307. ESPN. Hey, Tim Tebow might be all right at tight end. He had a killer mentor at Florida.
You need to repent for that one.
Brilliant, Texter. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. At ESPN, Tebow is there to keep the Clemson quarterback out of massage parlors. The text line today, Lonzo, is rated at TVMA for mature adults only. Also, I don't know if y'all saw, but Trevor just got married like 2 weeks ago, and like you can't judge a book by its cover. That's why the Deshaun thing was so shocking. But I'm just saying I don't see TL16 acting that way. Poor Justin Fields doesn't get a media support guy, does he, Buckeyes? Though Tebow is the man, and he deserves this chance and will help them win games. I'm trying to figure out why there's a rundown at you.
Yeah, I don't get
Justin Fields. We weren't even talking about Justin.
Yeah,
Fields.
well, I think they're defending Trevor Lawrence and the fact that I'm upset. I'm glad Tebow's getting in, and Trevor Lawrence is a Jacksonville Jaguar. He's not a Clemson Tiger.
I have said for many years that once you get to the leagues, though, my college biases die. Right.
Well, some people can't get past it. You know what? Let me say this, and I've said it before. I'll say it again. I hope Trevor does well in the NFL. I absolutely does. I'm a fan of the hair. Anyone with that kind of hair, they need success.
I think it comes down to, and we've talked about this, I think that attitude comes down to whether you are an NFL first fan or a college football first fan, right? If you're an NFL first fan, you don't care about the colleges the kids came from. You just care that they show up and play their best for your side, or you don't care if they come from your school. If they're lined up across from your team on Sundays, you want them to get beat. If you are and this is, I think, where a lot of the misunderstanding, at least in my career, when I've criticized Tim Tebow, I always get those people that call in, and I know it's not going to be as rough here because I'm out of Florida. But whenever I would criticize down in Florida Tim Tebow, I would get those phone calls from people going, you just hate him because he's a Gator, or you just hate him because of who he is, or you just hate him because of this or because of that. That is the mentality. And there's nothing wrong with this, right? Everybody's got their thing. That is the mentality of a college football first fan, a person who values college football over the NFL, which I know I would assume, though, likely the majority of people in the listening area right now are college football fans before NFL fans. And so to them, like I've got a friend over in Charleston who listens to the show daily. She's a big Clemson fan, and she already owns she already owns about as much Jaguar stuff as any Jaguars fan I ever knew, because Travis and Trevor are down there. So it's Clemson South to her. She'd never been a Jaguar fan in her life, has no reason to be a Jaguar fan, but she is a fan now because she is rooting for Sunshine and Travis to go down there and light the world on fire, which I respect and understand. And I think that's why the thing about, oh, you're just being critical of Tebow because you don't like him. I have no reason not to like Tim Tebow because he's in the league. I don't care about any of that because I'm an NFL first kind of guy. 844-477-3776 is the number. 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us at 71307. I haven't said this yet, Lonzo. I haven't said this yet. So I'll go ahead and say it now. I'm pretty excited about this. You know what I'm getting to do tonight? Tonight, your boy is headed up the road to Clemson. I will be on campus at the game between the Clemson Tigers and the South Carolina Gamecocks. I will be in person for my first, well, actually, it's not. I was going to say my first college baseball game in the upstate. It's not. I was at the South Carolina Furman game last year at Floor Field right before the season got run. But I will be on the campus at Clemson tonight, taking in a little South Carolina v. Clemson baseball action. So, and I got to tell you, man, kind of looking forward to it, to tell you the truth.
Enjoy the drive. Say hello to the cows. And you'll probably have a good time. I am curious, what are you wearing? I mean, there's obviously a neutral color that you can wear that can get you into anywhere, but it's awful dark for a hot summer day or spring day.
I think it's going to be relatively nice out tonight. So honestly, I'm probably going to rock the just the ESPN Upstate tee. You know,
which is the proper way, because then people can't say, well, why didn't you wear orange, or why didn't you wear garnet and black? And you're wearing your team colors. Good job.
I'm rocking the. I'm gonna rock the black ESPN Upstate shirt. I will tell you that I am going.
Well, Rob, if you're not there in official capacity, which side are you sitting on?
I am 100% not on a side. I am sitting in. If there's a way for me to sit directly behind home plate, like right in the middle, that's where I'll be. I'm assuming that it's going to be like 85% Clemson fans and like 15% Gamecocks fans. I don't know how Gamecock baseball fans travel, right? I know down in Florida, Florida State, when I was broadcasting down there, for instance, and I think, in fact, Florida State, Miami did this, and I think Florida, Miami did it too. They did 3-game series. Each school hosted one, and they played a neutral site game for the third, right? So like Florida State would play one in Tallahassee, one in Gainesville, and then one in Jacksonville. Florida State and Miami would do one in Miami, Coral Gables, one in Tallahassee, and then one in like Orlando or Tampa somewhere. But they traveled well, right? Like they traveled really well. I don't know how the Gamecocks fans travel, but this is going to be, Lonzo, as disappointing as it is because the football rivalry is great. I am still very excited. This is going to be my first in-person introduction, Lonzo, to the Clemson v. South Carolina rivalry in person. Any thoughts, advice from what I should expect and what I should avoid?
See, football is different than baseball. I've never been to a baseball game between the two. And you have some neutrality by wearing that shirt. So that's going to help you. It's going to help you.
That's 100% why.
It's a good move. That's the move I was going to suggest, by the way.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the go-to, right? Because the thing is,
I was going to joke and say other hosts would go there and wear a certain color, and yeah, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not that guy.
If I show up, because here's what inevitably happens: I show up to this baseball game, and I'm wearing either garnet and black or purple and orange. 100,000 billion% Zoe. What ends up happening is my picture gets made. It gets put up on the Twitter under the hashtag The Rob Brown Show is truly a blank supporter. And then I got to show up the next day and have either 70 or 30% of the fan base enraged with me for lying about me saying I am neutral in that rivalry, as I truly am.
Which, by the way, there is no law that says when you come to a market that you can't pick a side. You could absolutely pick a side if you want, as long as you don't feign neutrality while you're secretly, picking for one team over the other. And I haven't seen you do that. So good job.
So and I guess that's here's a question for you, just out of curiosity. I'll let you guys, the fans. Those of y'all watching the streaming on the text line at 71307, and for the texter, just ask, No, that game is at Clemson. So I will be on the campus at Clemson. I have been to the campus at Clemson one time. I drove the campus at Clemson a few months ago just because I had not gotten the opportunity to see it. So I went and drove the campus a couple of months ago, but this will be the first athletic competition I have seen on the campus at Clemson. And my goal is to make it to a South Carolina game. I know there's only a handful left, like 2-3 weeks left in the season, but to make it to a Gamecocks game at Columbia as well before the baseball season comes to its conclusion.
Is there a chance that they could host the region or something like that? Maybe you can make it there?
Yes, if you'd have asked me a week and a half ago, but they're both kind of on a slide right now, right? Like South Carolina, I think just took one last night in order to avoid a sweep. They got stomped by Mississippi State this weekend. Clemson needed a walk-off to avoid a sweep at the hands of Georgia Tech. So right now, Zoe, and this is going to make it even more interesting, both of these baseball teams are struggling right now. Both of these baseball teams are struggling right now. Both of these baseball teams are really trying to get it together. The Gamecocks avoid the sweep with an 11-inning 4-3 win over Mississippi State. Georgia Tech actually took a come-from-behind victory. They did sweep Clemson out of Atlanta yesterday. So the Gamecocks dropped 3 straight SEC series with a 9-6 loss to Mississippi State and then needed an extra inning dub last night to avoid getting swept against State. Clemson did get swept on the road at Georgia Tech. So as of right now, yeah, both of these teams are kind of floundering just a little bit, Lonzo. I hate to say that they will be using each other as a slump buster tonight, but somebody's got to get the bats and the pitching to come alive if either one of them wants a chance to make a run at worst case, not being a lower seed in a regional down the line. So I will have tomorrow on the show, I'll have a full report back from Clemson, from the first athletic competition of the Palmetto State rivalry that I have gotten to attend in person. I'm super excited about it. I have not gotten the opportunity. I've seen the campus at Clemson. I have not gotten to go to a game yet. This will be the first one. I had really hoped it was going to be that football game. That'll have to hold off until next year. Hopefully we'll get over. It was going to be one of those ones. I was going to go to a Clemson game a couple of weeks ago. But remember, this is the makeup game. Remember, they had that rain out early in the season of the game at Clemson. This is the makeup game, the third game in that series. So I decided to go ahead and wait off. I mean, if you're going to go to a Clemson baseball game at home, you go watch them play South Carolina, don't you, Zoe?
Absolutely. It's a good move on your part. And as you said, it is going to be a cooler day. So you're going to have a good time tonight and a long drive back home.
I ain't even worried about what's it like an hour and a half from here? It's not even that far, is it? Atlanta's 2 hours. It can't be more than.
Well, you won't have to deal with traffic. You won't have to deal with the kind of traffic you'd have to during football season. So you should be good. Question is, you driving a regular vehicle or are you going motorcycle?
No, there's 3 of us going, so we're taking the car. I might take the motorcycle. I don't love riding the bike back on the interstate after that. After a night game, day game, I'd take the bike, but not after a night game.
I would suggest you take the back roads, but not on a Tuesday night. No. You probably don't want to do that.
At ESPN, just go ride by the water treatment plant on Malden Road. That is what the Gamecocks baseball field looks and smells like. Man, the Texans are just bringing it in fuego today, man. All right. So
you could say when you go to Clemson, you're going to end up glowing in the dark on the way home, so you don't have to worry about, having a light on.
I did drive the campus at Clemson. And when I drove the campus, I kind of wrapped all the way around, like back by the football stadium, back by Little John and around. And I came across, and I had to laugh because I got all the way to the back, and I found the agricultural fields. And I'm like, oh, Lonzo would have so many jokes right now. By the way, quick check on, and thanks to the texter who sent it, our D1 Baseball Top 25 rankings. 4 teams from the SEC on the top of the leaderboards right now is Arkansas is the 1, Vanderbilt the 2, Mississippi State, who just took 2 out of 3, and nearly swept South Carolina's 3. Tennessee is 4. Then 3 straight teams from Texas are 5 through 7 with the Longhorns, TCU, and Texas Tech. Notre Dame checks in at 8, Florida 9, Oregon 10. So you end up with 5 Southeastern Conference teams in the top 10, and then 3 more out of the great state of Texas. East Carolina, Stanford, Arizona, Louisiana Tech, and Louisville are 11 through 15. 16 is Pittsburgh, FSU at 17, Ole Miss at 18, another SEC team in the mix there. Southern Miss is 19, Charlotte is number 20, IU 21, Gonzaga 22, UCLA 23, 24 is UC Irvine, and the South Carolina Gamecocks find themselves at number 25 right now at 28 and 17, so they would have some work to do in order to try to convince a regional to come to Columbia. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, we have got one of the iconic faces in ESPN no longer with the company. Talk about that next on the Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
QC Kinetics.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Joint pain is real. And the older you get, the realer it gets. Father Time is undefeated, y'all. Those ankles, those knees, those hips, that lower back, those shoulders, those elbows, the wrist. You have inside of all of those joints connective tissue that keeps the bits that ain't supposed to rub together from rubbing together. And as that tissue wears down over time, those bits start to rub together and they get inflamed. And that's where that pain comes from. And that is where QC Kinetics steps in, because QC Kinetics offers non-surgical regenerative therapy. These therapies help to rebuild that connective tissue. They harness the healing power of your own body. They help to rebuild that tissue. They help to heal those joints. They help to get rid of that inflammation, and they help you manage that pain. And the best part, you don't have to go under. You don't have to get cut open. You get the therapy right there in the office. You'll go see Dr. Richard Schaefer, MD, the head of the therapy. He will perform what needs to be done right there in the office. And then you're up, you're off the table, you're out the door, and you're back to your regular life, because that's what QC Kinetics is all about. Letting you live your best life, your day-to-day life, without having to deal with that pain. Learn more about the science by going to QCkinetics.com, QCKINETIX.com, or call them right now at 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772. Mention the Rob Brown Show. Get that free consultation underway with our friends at QC Kinetics. Automotive.
By the way, Josh is giving you a suggestion about a way to go to Clemson and back. Last time I went that way, it was like 15, 16 years ago.
Right.
And it may have been built up since then, but that's the route I'm talking about. You probably, it could be considered scary because it was really, really dark and not a lot of streetlights, not a lot of anything. But again, it's been over a decade since I went that way. And with the way South Carolina's growing, maybe it's not that way anymore.
123 to 93. Okay. I'm going to give it a shot. Hey, per a conversation we had a couple of weeks ago, Lonzo, you're going to love this. The Spartan Burgers have released the name of their mascot, who is a cheeseburger. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
The name of the mascot, Lonzo, is Patty Daddy.
Yes, I like it.
Daddy is the name of the mascot. Patty Daddy. That's what I'm not even mad about it.
Just don't look it up in Urban Dictionary. I'm guessing it's probably not a good idea.
I just love the premise that after the Spartan Burgers get that dub at home, I am jealous of the PA announcer who gets to go on the mic and say, "Ladies and gentlemen, respect the Patty Daddy," and make it as creepy as possible.
I don't know. I don't consider what you just did creepy. I think you need a little. I think you need a little more gravel in your voice to be creepy.
Patty Daddy. No, that was worse. That was worse.
Can't wait to see what the actual announcer sounds like now. And is it a familiar voice? Who knows? I wonder if that's listed.
I am in a group on Facebook for public address announcers because I used to do that. And he's in that group. I'll have to see if I can find out who it is. Hunt him down.
It might be an okay interview, possibly. I don't know. As long as, PA announcers don't talk like that when they're on the radio, too, because they might. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it depends, right? Because I have two different PA announcers' voice. PA who's announcing what's happened in a baseball game. Next up at the plate, the second baseman from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And then you have get hype announcer voice, and that one I got to work into it.
We when I was doing my high school scoreboard show, we went to one half of the game, and we made it a thing where we critiqued the PA announcers. And after a while, when they knew we were coming, they were concerned, and they would ask afterwards how they did.
I will occasionally break out into the if it's like last week when I was emceeing the Triumph Championship celebration. I will go. It's like a deeper AC/DC scream in order to announce things.
30 seconds.
Join the Rob Brown Lockdown on Twitter. Tweet at The Rob Brown Show on the Upstate Sports Leader, ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate, a legendary face on television at ESPN is no moss. Kenny Mayne has announced his departure from ESPN. He said that he was a, quote, salary cap casualty. He said, quote, "I will miss the people. I will miss the vending machine set up by the over by the old Van Pelt joint. We had everything." Mayne joined the network back in 1994, according to ESPN. Said, "Thanks for the opportunity, Vince Story and Al Jaffe, and for taking my solicitations. Hashtag into the great wide open." But in true Kenny Mayne fashion, he put the hashtag after into the great wide open instead of before it. Kenny Mayne, of course, produced feature pieces, including Main Street, in which he played a fictionalized version of himself that aired on Sunday NFL Countdown. He was also a longtime host of SportsCenter, anchor of SportsCenter. Before his time at ESPN, Mayne saw some success in college sports. The native of Kent, Washington, had an honorable mention junior college All-American quarterback at Wenatchee Valley Community back in 1978. He went on to the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, played 2 years of football and graduated before signing as a free agent with the Seahawks in 82 and 06. He had arguably his biggest career boost when he competed on Dancing with the Stars and became the first to be eliminated that season. Kenny Mayne was without a doubt, Lonzo, one of the top 2 or 3 all-time Sports Center anchors for me. The dude was fantastic. He was down to earth. He was dry. He was witty. He didn't ever take himself too seriously. He never made himself the star of the show, which is more than I can say about some NFL announcers on the network, if you know who I'm referencing there.
Yeah, I might. You know what? Kenny Mayne taught me a valuable lesson early on in my radio career, because the first celebrity, and I consider him a celebrity, that I ever got a chance to interview was Kenny Mayne. And he was at the Super Bowl. And so I was kind of nervous about it, had all my questions, and my co-host had all his questions. So he's driving in a car with his producer. We start asking him questions, and he just would go off to a different direction and start talking about something totally different. And so my co-host was getting upset. It's like, okay, so I'm just going with this. So wherever he went, I went with him. And that, I learned a lesson that sometimes things are going to the point where Kenny Mayne, sometimes he kept saying that we were in a different state on purpose, which was hilarious. And then he would hand it off. If he didn't want to answer a question, he handed it off to his producer.
Here, answer this.
Yeah. And his producer would jump on and would answer the questions. It was so funny. It was so scattered. It was so crazy. And I learned that you may have everything planned out, but if the person you're interviewing doesn't want to go along with where you're going or where you're leading or whatever, and you can either end the interview or you can go with them on that journey. And it was great. I still remember this. And this was, I don't know, 17, 18 years ago. And it was just so cool. And this was right when he was really in his heyday. And he was I don't even remember the Super Bowl, but I remember that it was him. And it was so cool that I actually got to talk to him. And he's exactly what I thought he would be.
Kenny Mayne, that story doesn't surprise me at all about Kenny. I feel like, Lonzo, Kenny Mayne is what I would be if I wasn't afraid to get fired for being me. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty loosey goosey, fun. Whatever happens. I feel like I would be Kenny Mayne if somebody came to me and was like, Rob, you get a lifetime contract, just do whatever you want. I would be way more Kenny Mayne than anything else. I love the dude. Like, he never took anything too seriously, which is great in sports because it's supposed to be fun. He never made himself the center, even when he did his featured productions, right? Even when he did his content like Main Street, it was still always about the subject. Yeah, he had his dry, sarcastic.
I was going to say,
his one-liners.
The delivery and the one-liners and his facial expressions, how he could just keep them completely blank while doing it. It's so underneath that it's just an amazing talent to have.
Yeah, but and in doing that and being I would say almost comedic genius to that level, Zoe, he still never took the spotlight over whatever it was he was talking about, right? If he's on Sports Center, he didn't take away from the highlights and from the game narratives, but he could still make you laugh. If he was doing the Main Street features, he didn't take away from whatever small town restaurant that Bo Jackson used to eat in as a kid, and the lady who used to cook for Bo is still there. He didn't take away from her, but he enhanced it. He made it better. He made it funnier in the way that really only Kenny Mayne could do. I almost kind of hate that we're talking about him like he's dead, because I got no doubt that Kenny Mayne is.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Man, this sounds like we're talking about him like he's dead. Yeah, he'll show up somewhere else.
But he will. But the frustrating part, though, is that for me anyway, it kind of is the end of an era. Like, I was looking the other day at some of the Sports Center anchors that are still in place, and there is a surprising number of them that have been around for a very, very long time. Hannah Storm is still around. John Anderson is still around. Scott Van Pelt, obviously. Neil Everett is still around. Linda Cohn is still around. Steve Levy is still around. Karl Ravitch is still around. I mean, look, they have got anchors from when I was a young man, like barely a man, young man, that are still around. But Kenny Mayne was always one of my favorites, and it just kind of feels like this is the end of the era. Watching SportsCenter was and remains a big part of my life. I mean, if you come over and the TV's on after 11 o'clock, there's a better than 85% chance I'm watching SportsCenter, and the likelihood that I'm really paying attention versus just kind of listening to it while it's on in the background is heavily influenced by what anchors are on. I love Linda Cohn to this day. When somebody throws down on a basketball court, I'll still go, for the love of elevation, because Linda Cohn made that phrase cool. Rest in peace, the great Stuart Scott. When Stu was up there, man, cooler than the other side of the pillow. Nobody was cooler than Stu Scott doing SportsCenter, but Kenny Mayne was the one that resonated with me. Kenny Mayne was who I would be if I was unafraid to get fired. I love that dude. I always have. And, SportsCenter and ESPN won't be the same without him. I understand that it was time to move on. I mean, if he wanted more and they wouldn't give it, and he just said, all right, it's just worth it for me to call it a career or to find another opportunity, I'm not mad at him for it. But, man, Kenny Mayne will go down as one of my favorites of all time, Lonzo. And I wish him the best, man. I really do.
Yeah, me too. And the other thing is, something we need to keep in mind is that he's 61 years old. So, he may have reached a point where he's done. And if so, that's fine. Yeah, he had a really good career, but I don't think a guy like that with that talent will disappear completely. He will definitely pop up somewhere else.
If he wants to, he may very well just want to ride into the sunset, right? And if he wants to, he's earned it. But yeah, I love Kenny Mayne, man. End of an era. Who is your favorite SportsCenter anchor and why? Who's the guy? So who's the guy or the gal when you're watching SportsCenter, you crank it on late at night? Who is the one more than any other anchor that you went, oh, sweet, so-and-so's anchoring tonight?
Well, there were three, and Dan Patrick would be number one.
Love Dan Patrick.
Still love his show, too, whenever I get a chance to check it out. Rich Eisen, which is another reason why I watch NFL Network, and then Kenny Mayne. So those were my three.
It's a good three. Good three. Stu Scott is on my list without a doubt. He's gone downhill. Well, he's not gone downhill. He's just kind of taken a new direction. Politics aside, though, I always liked Keith Olbermann. I always thought Olbermann kind of had that just that kind of flair for sneaking those really witty one-liners in when he was hosting.
See, Olbermann, and politics aside, I think there's an arrogance about his delivery that always bothered me. Like he thought he was the smartest guy in the room. And maybe because I'm rarely the smartest guy in the room, that bothered me. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I like Neil Everett. Neil Everett's not bad. Oh my gosh, somebody just texted me a minute ago. Do you remember back in the day, Lonzo, Craig Kilborn used to host SportsCenter back in the day? You remember Craig Kilborn back in the day?
Yeah, I definitely do.
I mean, it was only for like a year or two or three that he hosted. But Kilborn was good. Trey Wingo, I like Wingo. Wingo more of a sports dude than like a personality. Van Pelt, I met Scott Van Pelt a number of years ago. I don't know I think I've told this story. I met Scott Van Pelt a number of years ago. A young lady I was dating, her sister got married to the best friend of Scott Van Pelt's wife. They were sorority sisters together down at Florida before she met SVP. Anyway, I got to the wedding, and when I was on the way, the girl I was dating at the time, she did not know who Scott Van Pelt was. So she said, hey, my sister sat us at this table. She's got another friend coming, or her best friend who was the maid of honor. Her husband also does sports talk radio. Like, he's in sports broadcasting. So since you don't know anybody, she just sat you guys next to each other so that you guys could chat about sports or whatever. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. That's nice. And, I'm just thinking I'm going to meet another Rob Brown from Podunk Town, USA. And I'm sitting at the table, and the name tag of the guy next to me, they put the little tags on the tables. Well, I only had the first name, and it just said Scott. And I'm like, all right, his name's Scott. That's cool. And then a couple of minutes later, I'm sitting there at the table. I'm talking to the girlfriend and her sister who's getting married. And the best friend walks over, and she's like, hey, I'd like to introduce you to my husband. This is Scott. And I turn around, and it's freaking SVP, man, Scott Van Pelt. So I'm sitting there. I end up sitting at the table next to Scott Van Pelt. We have a long discussion. This was in North Georgia, if I recall correctly. I had this long discussion, had dinner with SVP. And the reason I like SVP, dude, he's the same dude off the air that he is on it. Just a good dude. Just a great, sat there and talked sports with me. Kind of one of those things, though, where we were like, neither of us wants to talk more sports during our time off from sports talk. But also, we didn't really know what we had in common else at that point, and we were sat next to each other, so it was kind of like okay, so go Terps, right? Go Terps.
So you didn't critique the bridesmaids' dresses or the dancing style of the father-in-law or something?
Absolutely.
Because that's what I'm expecting.
We absolutely sat there and made fun of people, not like in a mean way, but just a fun way. But yeah, we talked for a little while. He told me that he goes down to Destin, which is where I'm from. Where I grew up, down in Destin, Florida, and told me that he goes down there and goes fishing. And it turned out, speaking of small world, he said, yeah, I go down there and I go fishing on a boat called the Florida Girl. Well, I have a friend who's the first mate on the Florida Girl. So he actually knew one of my friends who mated for him every time he went fishing down in Destin. Just kind of a cool. Anyway, Scott Van Pelt, one of my favorite Sports Center anchors, without a doubt about it. Love me some Linda Cohn. Also love Rich Eisen, Dan Patrick, Kenny Mayne. So who's your favorite Sports Center anchor? Go ahead, throw it in. 844-477-3776. When we come back, the text is in, Lonzo. The text is in. Okay, Rob, did you watch Snyder's Cut or did you let us down? ... Again, yes, as I said I would, Texter. I finished it last night. You know what? I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts since y'all made it a thing. When we come back on the Rob Brown Show, it's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google Smart Speak.
I detected negativity in how you were talking about it as you teased it. So I already know where this is heading.
No, you don't. Yeah, you do. Maybe a little bit you do.
I am not an advocate for the film, so I will not be completely offended one way or another. But I am also easily entertained. So there's that.
I'm saving it all for on air, though.
Oh, I wouldn't want you to give a Facebook exclusive on this. I mean, people are tuning in expecting, a little tidbit or something, but you hold out. You do that.
1-1 Man U and Leicester City. 42 minutes played so far. Couple of pretty spectacular goals in this one so far.
Real, unfiltered sports talk brewed locally.
Oh my God, a hipster! Bring him a microbrew, quick!
This is the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
So I finished the Snyder Cut of Justice League last night. And halfway through, I thought to myself, all right. So you ever had like a really, really good dinner? Like a really good dinner? And then you put...
No, Rob. I've never had a really good dinner.
There's a second part to my metaphor, Lonzo.
You hesitated.
You ever had a really good dinner? Like, remarkably good dinner. And then you don't eat it all, so you throw it in the fridge, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is going to make such good leftovers tomorrow. And then the next day, you're remembering that dinner, and you're like, oh, that dinner was so good, I can't wait. And you warm that dinner up, and you sit down, and you take a bite, and you realize that it's just not as good the second time around. It's just not as good, warmed up and redone. I am sorry. Zack Snyder's cut of the Avengers, while there were parts that were good, I thought finally getting the backstory that Cyborg deserved, some of the additions were good. Dude, it was just the Infinity War saga put into one 4-hour movie. It was the Infinity War saga in one movie, damn near shot for shot rematch, up to and including the slow motion shot of all 5 superheroes in slow motion pushing forward into the enemies, and then they go flying by and get the next hit in. Dude, it was DC Thanos searching for the 3 stones to connect them to take over the world. He's got his own band of little baddie sidekicks that are really tough, but ultimately end up getting beat up by the best superhero. It was a shot-for-shot remake of the Infinity War series, and it was okay, man. It was okay. You had almost the same shot. It was just, I just felt like I was rewatching a movie.
So now at first I thought it was a mistake, but you can cover it and say that you meant to say Zack Snyder's Avengers, and maybe
it was Zack Snyder's Avengers,
and maybe you did, because I was going to agree with you. Yeah, Zack Snyder's Avengers was not that good.
Yeah, that's what.
But I haven't seen Zack Snyder's Avengers. Yeah, I think you need to look at the time period of when this movie was originally completed, and you probably will find out that it was out before the Avengers. And if so, then the Avengers is an exact copy of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
No.
Endgame is what you're referring to. So this would have been out way before Endgame. So that means Endgame was an exact copy of Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Okay. And even if it was, let's say and I believe the OG Justice League, which was bad, which had to be rescued by Zack Snyder. All right. So Snyder could have taken it in a different direction. and not just made it a remake of Endgame, which caught fire.
Well, I think the actors would know if it was a change up or not, because they're using footage that they originally filmed. They did come back and film some more, but that was more like a post-credit scene stuff. So I think they would be able to tell you if that's true or not.
Also, you've heard the phrase in the literary and movie arts, Deus Ex Machina, correct? Deus Ex Machina is basically the God in the machine, right? And it's a plot device where your heroes are stuck in a situation and they don't know how they're going to get out. And then all of a sudden, one of them's like, oh my goodness, I have the exact piece of equipment to fit this situation perfectly to get us out of this conundrum that we're in. Dude, there were like 37 ghosts in the machine, or gods in the machine. And it's like every time there was a problem, somebody had the perfect piece of technology or ability to get them out of it, to the point that it was contrived, right? Like, I'm fine with the premise of, all right, if Flash can approach the speed of light, then he can do special things. But they're like, hey, we need an incredible amount of energy in order to, and also the mother box. What a lame ass name for your entire plot device to be centered around. The Flash can generate an enormous amount of energy if he gets close to light speed and then touches a thing. All right, cool. You set that up with him, in the segment with the girl crashing the car, how he like touches the glass and it shatters because of the kinetic energy. I respect that.
You don't know who the girl is?
I don't think I paid enough attention. It wasn't really like registering to me.
That's his future wife. It was pretty obvious.
Cool.
But,
yeah, sure. It was like that scene wasn't enough for me to like,
here's
what a great moment for Flash to show.
So you are obviously and unashamedly, it would seem, a Marvel person who is not going to like a DC film.
No, I am a comic book person who likes good movies. In fact, I was even excited.
By the way, Darkseid was out before Thanos. So Thanos is kind of a copy of Darkseid.
Thanos was around before Darkseid in the comics, if you want to go all
No, I just looked it up. Darkseid was created in 1971 by comics legend Jack Kirby and directly influenced Jim Starlin in designing Thanos 2 years later.
Well, then DC should feel bad.
Nerd war.
DC should feel bad because Marvel has done everything better. All right? All right, Justice League came out before Endgame. Great. Endgame did it significantly better.
Let me point something out. Endgame is a better movie than Justice League.
Fact.
But I still like Justice League. And I could say that I have bias because I only collect DC comics, but I don't. I can like Marvel and DC. You know why? Because I have an open mind.
Dude, I like Marvel and DC. My number one most worn comic book shirt is a Wonder Woman shirt. All right? I wear a Wonder Woman shirt like all the time. I have no issue with DC. I like DC.
When you think of Wonder Woman, who do you think of? Do you think of Gal Gadot, or do you think old school?
Oh, no, it's and you just Peggy Carter, not Peggy Carter. What's her name?
Linda Carter.
Linda Carter. Yeah. Yeah, I think Linda Carter.
You ever feel the urge to stand up and to spin around?
No, because I'm old and I'll fall over. Look, it was okay. Like, it was okay. Oh, and by the way, I do have to say, this is not even nitpicky. I think it's a thing. Dude, the writing was so bad for like half the dialogue in the movie. And on top of all of that, you have Martian Manhunter show up in the middle of the movie, say a couple of lines to Lois Lane, and then decide, yeah, I shouldn't get in this fight for the Earth that I literally know is happening. But then he pops back up at the end to talk to Bruce and be like, I'll be around if you need me.
But we
already needed you.
You can blame the powers that be for that, because it was supposed to be Green Lantern, but they wouldn't let him use Green Lantern. So, I mean, that's politicking behind the scenes type thing.
Look, blame whoever you want. I watched it. It was okay. Like,
There is no one who's listening to the show right now or watching on the stream who thought that you would like this movie.
I mean, you decided what I was going to decide before I decided it. I did not. That's you assigning your own thoughts about
what
kind of thing.
What?
It was okay. No, you thought I was going to hate it. I didn't hate it. Do I think that it needed? Do I think I needed to dedicate 4 hours to it? No, not at all. I think a solid chunk of that movie was just wasted time. I think the writing was bad at best. I think the Deus Ex Machina that they kept jamming into every situation took away from some of the tension.
I was in that position 6 months ago.
Rob Lonzo, the Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google Smart.
Also, you can't save the world alone. I feel like Superman could have saved the world alone. Keegan said, I think I would have liked it more as the miniseries. I mean, I get it, because like every time during the watch over Sunday night, every time they got to an intermission, I'm like, I should take a break. Like, I feel like I should approach the next segment with fresh eyes. I thought I'll rake it back. The way they presented Cyborg was great. Like, it was great how they presented Cyborg. I just, like, for instance, when I talk about questionable writing, Wonder Woman, Aquaman is like, how do we know you're not working for him? Like, all right, every 13-year-old detective in bad 80s movies. Is that how Aquaman would speak? come on, man. It was just kind of lame writing in spots.
Well, if you remember the beginning of the Aquaman movie, he was more angsty because he thought his mom had left him, and so he had a lot of anger issues, and so they're playing into that. I'm just saying.
I'm not saying I have a problem with the anger or the mistrust. I'm saying it was just a corny line. There was so many lines in the
which wasn't in. See, and you didn't watch the original to compare it to. You should go back and watch the original.
I should not be judging the Snyder Cut based on is it not as bad as the original movie. I should be watching on is it a good movie, and it was an okay movie.
You're right. You're right about you shouldn't be judging it on it, but it would help for you to understand why so many people liked it. And a lot of people are comparing it, and that's probably added to why they like it so much.
I think people liked it so much because they are desperate for a DC movie that can start that franchise to where it should have been from the beginning. And
Man of Steel was great. Wonder Woman was great. I don't know what you're talking about.
At ESPN, Zoe, a wise lady once said a hater's going to hate. And also Rob just mad because Superman would whoop any of his Marvel goofballs. Yes, that's what I'm mad about. That the overpowered superhero remains overpowered. That's what took away from the movie. Man of Steel and Wonder Woman were the only two good movies in the DC franchise. All right? We just call it what it is. All sports in the next hour, except one or two segments where we don't. Rob Alonzo, it's ESPN Upstate. Got me in a stranglehold, baby.
Prisma in the first break.
Perfect. Also, J. Jonah Jameson showing up as Commissioner Gordon kind of threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't think that was necessary. Listening to the bang bang from which I would put banging of trash cans in the background. Just in the distance where only people listening close would have noticed.
There's nothing that says you can't go back and edit a commercial.
You're right. After my deadline, you never know.
Check this out.
You're on official Rob Brown lockdown.
Represents being real. Yeah.
Real, unfiltered sports talk manufactured locally for the Carolinas.
Lockdown.
This is the Rob Brown Show.
Yeah.
Only on ESPN.
ESPN Upstate.
Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN ESPN Upstate. I'm Rob Brown. Lonzo back at the helm. We have not heard a peep from either of the attorneys involved in the Deshaun Watson story. We talked about this last week, and I told you that my thought on that, my belief of the reason why, is because a settlement's coming. I think a settlement's coming. I think Deshaun, who remember initially said, I'm going to fight tooth and nail to clear my name. I will not settle. His attorney said they won't get a dime out of it. I think he's going to settle. I think that he recognizes that there is an overabundance of evidence that there was at least some wrongdoing. I think having 40 different masseuses over the course of 14, 15 months points in that direction. Many of them without licenses, nor training, nor education to be masseuses. Many of them just Instagram models that he flew out to meet him. I think that there's a settlement coming. Peter King of Sports Illustrated and NBC has said that Watson's days are numbered in Houston, and that he thinks after a settlement, there is likely going to be a trade taking place. Who are the front runners? According to Peter King in his Football Morning in America column, he has two teams, Lonzo, two teams as co-favorites to land Deshaun Watson. He says he has 3-1 odds out right now that Deshaun Watson will be either a Philadelphia Eagle or, Lonzo, a Carolina Panther when it's all said and done. He will end up in either Philly or Charlotte are the best bets of Peter King, who, like I do, thinks the settlement is coming and a trade will come shortly after that. He thinks those two teams will be the teams that will say, we're going to give this cat another shot to get his head on straight, et cetera, et cetera. My question now, if you are a Carolina fan, Lonzo, do you want him on the roster at this point in his career? The dude's only 25. He will likely be serving an 8+, I think maybe full season suspension next year. Do you pick him up and put him on the roster with the negative publicity that it will inevitably bring to your program? Do you sign him if you are the Carolina Panthers, Lonzo?
No. Without the controversy, absolutely. With this controversy, no way. And I don't think there's any question that Deshaun Watson is a better quarterback than Sam Darnold.
Sure.
And he's more experienced, proven, been able to win on a bad team. That kind of baggage, and it will go back to the same thing. You don't bring him in to be a backup. You bring him in to be a starter. So what you're saying is you made that trade for Sam Darnold, and you didn't really mean the things that you've been saying in the media as for the reason why you didn't take a quarterback at the 8th pick. So no, you do not bring him in. Him showing up in Philadelphia, I could see that because they could care less what the fans think because the fans are just mean and rowdy and they're not going to like anything anyway. So Philadelphia makes more sense than Carolina.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I don't know that I bring him in either. I really don't. And it's not, listen, saying, if you bring in Deshaun, it takes back everything you said about Deshaun. No, I don't think so. It's saying that Deshaun Watson's a franchise quarterback, whereas Justin Fields was going to be, I don't want to say a shot in the dark, but let's just say a shot in the very dim. All right? There are a lot of folks that think Justin Fields is going to be a franchise quarterback in the long term. There are a lot of folks who don't think that he will be. I mean, there's a reason he dropped to where he dropped. Deshaun Watson is a proven commodity. You know what you're getting with Deshaun Watson. You know what he is capable of. You've seen what he's done on the field. But I also think that baggage is a big deal if you're Carolina. Not that it is the beginning, end, or only reason that you would bring a guy in, but you have to understand that if you bring in Deshaun, there are a lot of people who consider you a bad football program, not on the field, but off of it. right? And if Deshaun settles, which I think is the most likely outcome of these 22 civil suits that have been brought against him, assuming, by the way, all of this working under the assumption that no criminal complaints will be brought against him. This is all working under the assumption that no criminal cases will be brought against him, which I don't know. I mean, I think he's probably in the clear on that, but I don't know that for a fact, and neither does anybody else. There's a lot of baggage attached, and I understand you can hit him with the line of, well, Deshaun realized that he acted improperly, and everybody gets a second chance, right? And in the NFL, your second chance is basically predicated on, are you a really good football player? If you're a really good football player, you're more likely to get a second chance. If you're not a really good football player, you're less likely to get a second chance. We know how the game gets played. We ain't foolish, man. We know. Carolina fans, would you want Deshaun in the building as a Panther if he does indeed settle, and if there is indeed a trade opportunity on the table? Do you send Sam Darnold down to Houston in a trade for Deshaun Watson, knowing what he's coming off of? And by the way, keep in mind, like I mentioned, knowing that there is likely an 8+ game suspension coming for Deshaun Watson this season. He's not, somebody asked me the other day, why, if that's coming, why is Deshaun not on the commissioner's exempt list yet? And the answer is, it'll probably come once OTA start, right? They're not in a hurry to put him on the list there because they want this thing to play out as far as thoroughly as it can play out before they make any decisions. That's why he's not there. When the OTAs pop up and it's time for the football teams to go back to work, Deshaun will be on the commissioner's exempt list. And once he's on the commission exempt list, then everything changes around a little bit. Then you'll start hearing talk about suspension. You'll start hearing talk about behavior unbecoming of a National Football League player, et cetera, et cetera. I suspect Carolina is on that list, Lonzo, because of the 31 teams in the league that aren't Houston. Of the 31 teams in the league that aren't Houston, Carolina is probably the only one that has a fan base that I don't know if it's fair to say majority or not, but a sizable portion of, a significant chunk of the fan base will be in Deshaun Watson's corner, right? If he goes to any other fan base, you're going to have a lot of fans that are going to be against the team signing that particular player. But if he comes back to the Carolinas, a lot of Carolina Panthers fans are crossover Clemson fans, and a lot, not all, but a lot of Clemson fans have remained in Deshaun Watson's corner. So the Carolina Panthers are at least somewhat protected from their own fans because they've got the buffer built in of Clemson fans that are crossover Carolina fans that will protect that reputation, if you will, from taking a ding.
Here's the other reason why he doesn't come to Carolina, and it's Jerry Richardson. Think about the entire Jerry Richardson situation and the reason why Jerry Richardson is no longer the owner. So you're bringing that, in essence, you're bringing that back to the team, especially if he settles. Because, again, perception, if you settle, then you're saying you're guilty. You're bringing that kind of stuff back to a team that had to deal with something kind of similar and having to have Jerry Richardson sell the team. So I don't think they do that.
844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Dan is right here in the Ville to talk a little bit about it. Dan, thanks for the time. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Great to have you.
Thank you. And I'm going to have to make this brief, but it's impossible for me to believe the women didn't know what they were doing. I remember Wilt Chamberlain bragging at one point he had 20,000 women. And I'd also like to say golf still celebrates Tiger Woods. And I think people are going to forget this because of those reasons. And I believe that what Deshaun did is I don't condone the behavior. He's going to have to change that. But I don't think it's going to be something that people look at down the road. Michael Vick came back from, with dogs, and dogs, of course, are innocent. So that's all I'd like to say, and I appreciate your show. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. 844-477-3776. Text us 71307. Zoe, I have an issue with it is impossible to believe these women. It is impossible to believe them. Impossible. It is impossible to believe 22 women willing to sign their names on a lawsuit and have their history exposed to the world. 22 women saying that, and all with corroborating stories with similar details and behavior. 22 women who were hired by Deshaun Watson out of what, 40-ish over the span of a year and a half, many of whom are not masseuses, are not. Now, if you want to hit me with the they knew what they were doing discussion, hey, man, look, if somebody calls me and says, Rob Brown, we want to book you to come in and be a PA guy, and I show up and they start putting moves down, that is not what I signed up for, right? That is not what I signed up for. Deshaun Watson is rich and powerful and famous enough that if the dude wants to get his jollies, he can just tell a woman, hey, I'm interested in a physical relationship with you. Are we good with that? And get a clear yes or no. Impossible. Is it possible that some of these women are making up the story? Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. But to say it's impossible to leave them. Tiger Woods' issue was not sexual assault. Tiger Woods' issue was a drug addiction. Tiger Woods' discretions, if you will, were a drug addiction and adultery. Tiger Woods was never, that I remember, Zoe, was never accused of sexual assault. He just ran around on his wife with a bunch of women.
A bunch of times. A lot of times.
But that is not sexual assault. Is it wrong? Yes. I've said many times on this show and others. The only thing Tiger Woods ever did wrong in my eyes was get married. Tiger Woods could have had all the fun Tiger Woods had, not gotten married, and it wouldn't have been an issue. We'd have just gone, all right, he's a billionaire playboy with the opportunity. I'm not saying all, but a lot of guys would have acted the same way as Tiger Woods if they had his resources and fame. Of course. This is very, very different than what Tiger Woods did. Michael Vick paid his debt to society and continues to do so. I don't like Michael Vick. I don't like what Michael Vick did. I think it's sick, twisted, disgusting what he did to those dogs. But I also understand that Michael Vick came from a background and a culture where that was normalized. It wasn't sick and depraved and twisted to him. He was raised with that. But even after he learned and even after he was educated as to why it was wrong, he paid his debt to society in the form of a lot of money, in the form of a ton of public service, in the form of starting up animal care centers, et cetera, et cetera. There is no punishment on Deshaun. Now, granted, he still has yet to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, but that's why they're waiting on this lawsuit to go through, these lawsuits to go through. And I suspect there aren't going to be teams that are lined up to sign the guy until they are in the back pocket. And maybe a settlement may very well be Deshaun's only opportunity to get back to the league. If Tony Busby is sitting on as much evidence as he has claimed that he is, and Deshaun comes out and settles with these women for, $1 million a piece, that might be the only way he gets to play in the NFL again. So I don't know. And if that is the case, if you're the Panthers, are you rolling the dice on that? Are you rolling the dice? Your opinions are wanted. 844-GSP-ESPN. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307, 71307. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute on The Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your computer and tablet at ESPNUpstate.com.
Prisma Health here in the Upstate, the official healthcare providers of both the Clemson Tigers and the Gamecocks. of South Carolina. And there is a reason why, ladies and gentlemen. There is a reason why. It is because not only are they trusted by those universities, but they make keeping track of the medical history of their patients simple, easy, streamlined, convenient. Go to their website at prismahealth.org, prismahealth.org. When you do, you will see a bunch of buttons. You can use one to find a location that is convenient and easy for you, somewhere in the Midlands or the upstate, wherever is close to you. You can look through their 2,400 plus healthcare providers within their network. So you can find the doctor that is right for you, the doctor that you trust. You can schedule an appointment right there on the website. No need to take time out of your day to get on the form and get on the phone and check calendars. You can put it all right there in to schedule an appointment on the website, reschedule if you need it, et cetera, et cetera. And if you use their handy My Chart feature, your entire medical history is laid out right there. It is streamlined. It is simple. It makes it easy for you to see everything you need to see to take care of yourself back. It makes it easy for your healthcare provider in the Prisma network to see exactly what's going on, what treatment you've been receiving, when, where, and why. Everything they do is to make this as easy as they can for you. To learn more, go to prismahealth.org, prismahealth.org, the official healthcare providers of the Gamecocks and the Tigers. It's Prisma Health here in the upstate.
AutomotiveMap.com presents your...
Wow. Former Hawaii record-setting quarterback Colt Brennan has just passed away. And by the way, those of you watching on the stream, if we are in break, you are welcome to leave thoughts over in the chat box. Let's see. Keegan, have you checked out Jupiter's Legacy? I have not checked out Jupiter's Legacy. I've heard a couple. That one, and there's, I think actually you told me about it, Keegan, but The Invincibles. I've heard The Invincibles is really good. That's on the list. I think that's more like adult cartoony superhero stuff, though, so I have to check that out.
I have watched the first episode of Jupiter's Legacy.
And?
Well, I don't know if you value my opinion or not, since I like Justice League Snyder Cut.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Oscar for Best Dramatic Performance goes to Lonzo.
Yeah, I don't want an Oscar. I don't know yet. I don't know. It's I kind of like it. Let's wait till like 2 or 3 episodes in before I give my opinion. It's good enough to watch a second episode. I just haven't yet. So I don't know. The twist at the end of episode 1 was actually pretty good, and it's good enough for me to watch episode 2 to find out how long it takes for that to play out.
Fair.
But it's also very adult. So
Jupiter's
Legacy, yeah.
Put it on the list.
To the point where I didn't realize I hadn't watched Netflix in so long that I forgot what my password was, and we had to remember the password. But I specifically went back to Netflix to watch that. So, with the intention to review it on the show Saturday, and I ran out of time. So,
I also need to watch the Harley Quinn animated series. I've heard it's fantastic, but
yeah, it's way too Quentin Tarantino for me. You wonder how much money they got paid for per F word. So, I mean,
is that a contract option people are allowed to take?
Probably. I bet it is for Tarantino. It has nothing to do with this, but still, it's just. So I started watching it. Bleep, 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 bleep. It's like, okay. To me, when there are more curse words than other words, then it might be a little excessive. Just maybe, just a little. 30 seconds. Yeah, I know I'm weird. I don't care. I'm not really weird. You're weird. I'm not talking to you.
Ups and downs, the ins and outs, real, unfiltered sports talk. It's the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on. This is ESPN Upstate. Text line 71307. 71307 for the English Market text line. At ESPN. Hell yes, you sign him, quote unquote. At ESPN, good riddance, Deshaun and Clemson. At ESPN, maybe Watson just wants it to go away so he can go on with his life, even if innocent. Who wants a long drug-out battle over sex with Instagram models? Clearly, they were hooking up for one thing only, and that was sex. All the Tebow bull, now this, oh boy, end quote. I don't know what Tebow bull.
Yeah, what does one have to do with the other?
Yeah.
Either I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Second off, again, I'm still waiting on Deshaun to either get his day in court or settle. I will tell you that if Deshaun settles, regardless of your opinion or mine, if Deshaun settles, and we've had this conversation, Lonzo, I'm not saying that this makes it right, wrong, or indifferent, but if Deshaun settles after that first post that came out that said, I will fight this tooth and nail to clear my name and prove I did nothing wrong. If Deshaun settles, even if it is just because he wants to go on living his life and get on a new team, et cetera, if Deshaun settles, the court of public opinion is going to fall on the side of he did it. And there is going to be a baggage attached to his name. You can dislike that if you want. You can be angry at that if you want. But that is going to be where the court of public opinion ultimately lays its verdict if Deshaun decides to settle. And that will lead to teams, Philadelphia, Carolina, whoever else is involved. It is going to lead to some baggage that will come attached to any and all teams who decide to pursue him from the Houston Texans in years upcoming.
Absolutely. And the other thing is, don't vow to fight and then not fight at all, or at least make it look like you're fighting, because it doesn't look like he's fighting. Yeah, I know his lawyer was out there for a while and then disappeared, and it makes it look like, again, it makes it look like you're guilty, or at least you're a quitter. That you just gave up. Because if you believe you're innocent, take it as far as you possibly can.
Yeah, and that's likely.
Make this thing go to court. I know it's money, but you're going to be paying out money anyway. So why not take it to court if you know you're innocent and try to prove you're innocent?
Yeah, and again, the thing was, Deshaun at the beginning said, I am going to fight this tooth and nail to prove that I'm innocent, right? And then if he doesn't do that, I'm not saying he kind of created that situation himself, but he kind of did, right? He kind of did. That's why that court of public opinion is going to be what it is should Deshaun decide to settle. And like I said, at this point, I suspect that he will. I suspect that he will indeed decide to settle down the road. 844-477-3776, 844-GSP, ESPN is the number. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307, 71307. Certainly would love to hear what you think about this situation. Let's do this. Let's run to a break. So we got a full segment coming up next on the show. Big time moves going on in the NFL, and one Atlanta Falcon may be out. We'll tell you who and why coming up. The NBA has fined a team VP for criticism of officiating. That is completely justified, right or wrong. And the saga of Diego Sanchez has just gotten even more weird. We'll get Lonzo's thoughts on that coming up next on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say, play ESPN Upstate. From the Ingles Market Studio, this is ESPN Upstate.
Golf card in the final break.
Golf card. It's a great day for golf. That's the only sentence I can say with the Scottish accent, Zoe.
It's not bad. Not bad at all.
It's a great day for golf.
Although it does sound a little bit like Jamaican Irish, but, that's okay.
Jamaican Irish. Colt Brennan passed away.
Did you see the Humberto Corella injury?
I did not see it happen. I have not watched Raw from last night yet because I was watching the Snyder Cut. But I will most certainly be watching it.
I am seeing things that he's okay, but
yeah. I saw the injury on a replay and it looked absolutely gnarly.
Yeah, legs aren't supposed to do that, really.
So what I saw was they thought either Sheamus came down on it and broke his femur, or that he cracked a tailbone or a pelvis.
See, at first he didn't move his leg, so I thought for sure it was his leg because Sheamus did come down on it, and it's like I've never seen that before. Oh, that's gotta hurt, especially coming off the ring. It looked rough. One minute.
1 minute left.
The Chiefs have waived tight end Sean Culkin, who wanted his salary in Bitcoin.
I saw that.
I wonder if that's the reason why they waived him.
No.
Or if that's just trying to get you to click on the story.
Yeah. I think it's more, hey, this guy did this unique and interesting thing, and also he got cut.
Made for upstate sports junkies.
These pathetic junkies? Come on, look at them.
You eat sports like food every day. Get hooked on the Rob Brown Show, noon to 3 every weekday on ESPN Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate, 844-477-3776, 844-GSP, ESPN. Text is 71307 on the Ingles Market text line. Last thought about Deshaun, and then we will get off that gear as we head towards the end of the broadcast. Text line 71307 ESPN. Look at Tiger Woods, Big Ben. Hell, I can keep going. Brush it under the rug and move on. Become a Panther. End quote. Zoe, and I guess this is the part that I want to emphasize to people. There is a vast difference between Tiger Woods and Deshaun Watson. There is a vast difference, although not one that we should focus on as like, oh, well, Big Ben wasn't that bad relatively. What Ben did was bad. What Tiger Woods did wasn't illegal. It was adulterous, yes. It was awful for his wife at the time and his family, yes. But he didn't assault anybody, right? The majority of the backlash that Tiger Woods has faced over the years is from social judgment, not from doing. Yes, driving under the influence is very bad, and that was the discussion that was had, and I do have a problem with it. Obviously, I lost an uncle before I was born to a drunk driver, so yes, it is very close and near and dear to my family. But what Tiger did to other people was not illegal, wasn't a crime. What Deshaun is accused of doing is a crime, and like a handful of them. That's where that baggage comes from. All right, I want to get your thoughts on this, Lonzo, and that is the saga we have been seeing playing out around Diego Sanchez. The former heavyweight champion John Jones, who used to be sparring partners with Diego Sanchez, used to be workout partners with Diego Sanchez. A new video came out on Friday of a workout featuring former UFC fighter Diego Sanchez and his new trainer, Joshua Fabia. And Fabia has been taking some criticism for leading Diego Sanchez down a bad path from a number of other fighters, and now John Jones is one. At one point in the workout video that came out, Sanchez is suspended in the air upside down, and Fabia is punching, slapping, and kicking him in the head and face. Sanchez simply hangs there and absorbs the strikes, eventually covering his face. John Jones said, quote, "I am without words, really disgusted as a person that used to know Diego. This is the last thing that he needs." It is the latest that we have heard from the Sanchez camp after he was released by UFC last week. That decision was made after Fabia contacted the UFC with a request for Sanchez's complete medical history before his final fight with the promotion, which was supposed to be this past Saturday against Donald the Cowboy Cerrone at UFC on ESPN 24. The request raised red flags for the promotion, leading to Sanchez getting cut. Sanchez then questioned why the UFC was so alarmed by the medical records, which I understand that. But then he went on to say that, quote, "I am fearful for my mother bleeping life," quote, end quote. He went on to say, quote, "I'm going to tell you guys frankly right now, I'm fearful for my mother bleeping life. I'm fearful that this company, this billion-dollar company worldwide, is going to come after me. Something might happen to me in my 2 years, maybe in a couple years. Maybe I wreck my truck. Maybe, Diego overdosed, some suicide bleep. I don't know, but I would not put anything past the level of evil within this corporation. If I was to expose some of the stuff that I know about, because I've been this mother bleeper longer than anybody else and been the only one that survived the bleep, that went through the dark tunnel and came out the other side," end quote. Zoe, I'll be honest with you. I have no idea what the hell's going on with Diego Sanchez. I have no idea what's going on with his new trainer. But when John Bones Jones is coming out saying, "I am flabbergasted," other fighters are saying this is not normal. This is not okay. This trainer is leading him down a dark path. And now Diego has gone full conspiracy theory on it. I'm going to get whacked by the UFC for reasons. I got to tell you, man, this story, I don't know how compelling it is, but it is to me.
This is a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, isn't it? It's exactly a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie from the 90s, I guess, including the being upside down, getting hit and kick training. Because when you were saying that, that's what I'm picturing. I'm picturing Jean-Claude Van Damme full splits while he's getting hit with a bamboo stick in the stomach. That's the kind of stuff it sounds like. Or dude is training to be a ninja. I don't know. It is very, very weird. But you got to also take into account, and I'm not being funny here, these guys get kicked in the head and hit in the head a lot and things like that. And you just don't know if something like that is coming into play, that there's something wrong with his head from getting hit so many times, because that's just, it's so weird and it's so out there. Do you really think this is all coming from the trainer? I mean, maybe it is, but it just, that's so weird.
I mean, he's the variable though, right? I mean, Diego's been in the UFC for a very long time. And as far as I know, there's never been an issue like this, right? As far as I know, Diego's never had these sorts of issues. Then the new guy shows
and I don't recall anyone, dying in unusual circumstances that was also a fighter who tried to leave or anything like that. I mean, if you have some sort of proof, that's different, but we haven't heard anything about that period. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It probably doesn't exist.
I'm going to go ahead and say the UFC has way more to lose by murdering someone
probably
than whatever it is they would be covering up inside of their training facility, right? If it came out that UFC was like letting fighters use drugs, you'd be like, all right, well, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. If it came out that UFC had Diego Sanchez nerfed, like finished him, that'd pretty much be the end of the sport as a competitive endeavor at that level.
So this training video, does that have music playing in the background?
I don't know. I've only watched it on mute.
Because in my head, I'm hearing something from Sylvester Stallone's brother. Yeah.
Ow! Stop it, coach. Yeah,
it's some Frank Stallone music for sure playing in the background.
Yeah, he is the he's the variable here, right? I think that's the whole point. And again, John Jones is not the first coach that's come out, or the first fighter, that's come out and said, I'm worried about Diego, or this is not going a good way, whatever. And Diego goes from a guy that had been in the UFC for a very long time. The dude's like 37 years old. I mean, he ain't young. He's been around a hot minute. As far as I know, he's always been at least a somewhat respected person and fighter, and a voice for the MMA community. And then now all of a sudden he's full-blown conspiracy nut. All of a sudden this guy starts hanging him upside down, punching him in his face while he's defenseless. And Diego's going off about, they fired me and now they're going to try to execute me. I got to tell you, man, this is the kind of stuff that starts infecting organizations. This is the kind of stuff that starts cutting into people and turning them off to different events. I don't know what's going on with Diego, man, but if John Jones, who is not exactly known for having the biggest heart of a humanitarian in his life, for him to come out and say, I am worried about Diego Sanchez, man, this concerns me greatly for Diego personally. But what is going on in the back walls that UFC can't keep an eye on with people like coaches and managers and trainers that have such an impact on these fighters' lives, fighters who already take massive amount of damages as a career choice?
All right. So I'm not trying to downplay this or anything, but I am watching the video now. Now the kicks that's ridiculous, but the supposed punches, I mean, you can get hit harder than that when you're getting a massage at the local barbershop. It's not full on punches. It's like grabbing his forehead and kind of almost, it's not that hard, but the kicks, that's totally different. The kicks I get, and he's guarded. It isn't like he's unguarded when he's being kicked. He's got his hands up in guard position, and it's still got to hurt. But still, the punches, though, I don't call those punches.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe it's not a huge deal.
It's weird that he's hanging upside down and he's getting
weird.
this, but I think that part of it's being a little overblown. The conspiracy part, that's just crazy. But this, I don't think this is as bad as they're making it out to be.
844-477-3776, 844-GSP-ESPN. A couple of texts on the Ingles Market text line at 71307 at ESPN. I'm so glad I got to hear alarmed again. ESPN, so just when I thought Rob was starting to fit in here, alarm made its way back into the vocabulary.
I had heard tell of the alarm, but I had never been subjected to it in its full glory. And I was taken aback for a moment. And then it's like, yeah, there it is. Okay, it does exist. And then I just moved on.
After this segment, I am very alarmed at the future for Diego Sanchez and the UFC. And at ESPN, this has CTE written all over it. Yes, it does. I agree with that. And that is a concern.
Which was where I was going, but I didn't want to come right out and say that. But yeah, but that's,
I think we're all on the same wavelength.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I mean, if you think of some of the famous football players who near the end started acting in this kind of behavior. Yeah.
Hey, the Junior Seau situation, right? Junior Seau, by all accounts, was a happy, great dude, and then one day he just ends it. Yes, it does. But at the same time, this isn't like a pattern for Diego, right? This is all in the last week. Diego's been fighting for a long time. It's all, and maybe it just was one blow in his last fight that set off the situation. But he gets this new trainer, and then CTE kicks in. I don't know, man. It's weird. Let's take a break. When we come back, we play everybody's favorite game to wrap up the show. Twitter trending topics is next. Zoe tells me what's trending on Twitter. I give you 30 to 45 seconds about what I know about it. And if I don't know anything about it, I make something up. That's next on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
The Rob Brown Show. Listen on your Amazon or Google smart speaker. Just say play ESPN Upstate.
The 2021 Upstate Golf Card is on sale right now. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, for $99. You are getting greens fees to 9 of the most prestigious courses around the Upstate. That is over $450 worth of value. You are getting it for less than a Benjamin. Yeah, it's that simple. You get one, you go play 9 rounds of golf, you enjoy some of the best golf and some of the most beautiful weather, not just in South Carolina, but around the country. But look, we got a limited number of these, all right? We got a limited number. We only have a handful, and they will sell out. And they're going to sell out sooner rather than later. So get yours now. Go to upstategolfcard.com to learn more. See the courses, get the deets. Get one for you, your friends, your family. Give y'all all an excuse to get out there and play a little golf in the springtime. It's the 2021 Upstate Golf Card.
From the 106.3 and WORD Weather Center, here's the Upstate's most trusted forecast on ESPN Upstate. Mainly cloudy through the afternoon. Temperatures hold fairly steady.
Now I have the Rocky theme song stuck in my head. Bum, 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 bum. I love the idea of people sitting around with their phone in their hand waiting for Rob to say alarm or mispronounce McCaffrey so they can text the show. It's like two dudes. It's like two dudes. And every time I say, because I try not to say alarm, so that I don't do that. But, you know, when you get talking a mile a minute, sometimes you just say it. I love that you laughed at alarm.
Well, it's to me, it was a myth. It was something that didn't really exist, and now I've witnessed it, and it does exist, kind of like Sasquatch.
And your life has changed for the something.
Well, now I'm going to be wondering when the next time it happens. And maybe I'll just start sending you texts that just say alarm on it.
Alarm. Hang on, I got to tell my maintenance guys that they can't king because I'm doing a radio show. Hang on. Hey, man. You know, dude, I'm going to be on my radio show. I'll be done in about 15-20 minutes.
To keep his books and his sanity, he needs to find a replacement ASAP. Indeed,
I did when I came in here last night.
Indeed, you did. When you sponsor a job, you immediately get
So I'm not sure. Should I just talk over this? Probably. That way you guys can't hear what Rob is saying to his maintenance guy, even though he left his mic on and it's really loud. So I could just talk for an entire minute till he gets back in the room so you can't hear what's exactly wrong with his apartment that he needs the maintenance men to come in. Possibly toilet package. I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure what it is exactly. But if I hadn't been talking, we all would have heard exactly what it was. And, you know.
Oh, no, the maintenance guys at my apartment are coming by to do their little inspection. And
you left the microphone up. So, if I was quiet, everyone could hear what you were saying to them. So I just decided to talk over it just to cover for you in case it was something embarrassing like constant toilet package or something like that. That's all. You know?
I've managed to avoid that so far. They just come by every couple of months to like change out the air filters and
gotcha.
Fire alarm batteries and all that.
Coming back.
Arts and Pep Boys. And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter Trending Topics.
It is time for Twitter Trending Topics, where I tell you exactly what Rob was saying to his maintenance men in the hallway because I could hear the whole conversation. Also, where I tell, Rob what's trending on the internet, and he tells everybody what he knows about it. The first thing that's trending is Dark Side.
Dark Side, like of the moon, or from the Justice League movie that I just happened to watch, and you just happened to find it on Twitter today?
Neither one.
Neither one. Oh, well, then I'm just going to say Dark Side of the Moon is one of the greatest albums that I have ever heard. I own it on vinyl. I still listen to it if I'm in that kind of melancholy chill out mood. It is a great album. It remains that way. Dark Side from Justice League last night. I mean, cool. Like, has potential, I guess. Are we going to get a Justice League 2 down the line with an expanded roster?
No, we're not, because Snyderverse is over. The real reason why Darkseid is trending is because of ransomware, and the reason why people are scrambling to get gas right now, which you really don't need to do, but you can't tell people that. They're panicking. They're out there. Darkseid is the organization that's taking credit for the ransomware of the pipeline. That's
I learned something this morning while I was researching, by the way. And Lonzo, this is, I think this is important for the area. The gas stations in our area are not impacted by the pipeline that is shut down. The only reason that we are running out of gas in the area is because people are going and panic
buying. Yep.
Someone sent me a picture from yesterday of a guy at a gas station. I'm not sure, somewhere Greer, somewhere outside of Greenville, with like 20 gas cans, filling up all of them. All right. If y'all don't do that, we won't run out of gas. The refineries that bring gas across the Gulf Coast and up through North Carolina are not connected to the pipeline in question. We will not run out of gas unless y'all go buy it all up and drive the prices up. If you just fill up your car like regular, then we're going to be fine. Everybody take a deep breath. We're on a different pipeline, y'all.
Yeah, and the other thing, not to be disparaging to the other show, because I would never do such a thing, but both the hosts on the other show have already been talking about it, and one of them is willing to do appearances to get gas. So that just shows you. Try to figure out the right media source that you're getting, your news from.
We're not going to run out of gas. Everybody chill. By the way, congratulations to Manchester City, who have just won the 2021 Premier League season. Manchester United has just taken a 2-1 victory over Leicester City. So Manchester City has now won their 5th Premier League championship. It ties them with Chelsea all time, though both of those clubs remain 8 Premier League titles behind the 13 owned by Manchester United.
All right, the next thing trending is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, so Leonardo, there's been a still that's being released of the lamest Ninja Turtle from a movie he's in. I guess it's kind of another dark Western kind of style movie. And yesterday a tweet went viral because it's very clearly Leonardo DiCaprio. It's very clearly Leo. And the caption on the tweet was, Leonardo DiCaprio looks unrecognizable in its new role. And it's like a picture of him and his actress, his co-star, who's an actress, a young lady. And the joke running around Twitter was like, oh, I have no idea which one's Leo. He's unrecognizable, because headlines are dumb. My second favorite one down that thread, I don't know if you saw it, Zoe, but I made a very sarcastic joke about it. There was a website yesterday. Let me go back so I can find the actual tweet. But there was a website that a news website that tweeted out a picture of Gwyneth Paltrow, and it said during the lockdown. And I'm paraphrasing because I'm struggling to go back and find the tweet in question here. But it basically said, during the quarantine, Gwyneth Paltrow broke down and ate bread. How did it impact you? And my response was like, well, I thought my job and career of 15 years was going to be gone. I didn't get to see my friends and family for the better part of a month. 150,000 people died, but thoughts and prayers to Gwyneth Paltrow, Lonzo, who broke down and ate a slice of bread. My goodness, how difficult this has been on her.
I'm sure it impacted her friends and family, because suddenly with some fiber in her diet, she was regular and had a good day.
Gwyneth Paltrow lost me when she released a candle that had the scent of her own lady parts and sold it for like $80 a candle. Zoe, it used to be when people used to go, I don't care what celebrity have, they're just so out of touch. As a younger man, I was always like, well, they're people too. And now after the Gwyneth Paltrow saga of Gwyneth broke down and ate bread during a quarantine, how did you surprise yourself? I didn't murder you for writing that headline, and that's a big surprise.
Wonder how many people bought that candle. All right, the next thing that is trending is Legends of the Hidden Temple.
No idea why it's trending. I'm going to assume that it's some sort of anniversary. I am going to tell you, Legends of the Hidden Temple was a great show on Nickelodeon back in the day. Olmec, the temple guide who read all the trivia questions and whatnot. And on top of that, Zoe, it was like a show that challenged you a little bit, right? Like it had history and geography questions. Like it made you think a little bit. Legends of the Hidden Temple was a classic show. And this is a true story. I may wear it on tomorrow's show, Lonzo. I have a Purple Parrots t-shirt that I am known to wear on occasion.
Well, you will be excited because you possibly could be a contestant on the revived Legends of the Hidden Temple, which will only be for adults.
Let's go. GameSpot reporting that Nickelodeon's iconic game show Legends of the Hidden Temple is getting a reboot, but this time strictly for adult players. I'm putting it on day one. And I will use all of my vacation time to go be a contestant on Legends of the Hidden Temple. I will straight take out some temple guards. Straight out narc some temple guards.
When I saw it was trending, I figured you were around the right age group for this to be exciting for you.
Love that show, man.
I have never seen it before.
Love that show. Keegan's in. Me and Keegan, we're going on Legends. Straight up Purple Parrots all day, son. All day. That's it for the show. Offsides with Mark Ryan and Diesel is coming up next. I'm sure that the Tebow Love Fest will stall out today. I have no doubt. Make sure you stick around for that. Thanks for hanging out, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rob Brown. Full report back tomorrow from the Clemson, South Carolina baseball game. I'll be in attendance tonight. Y'all have a great rest of your Monday. For Zoe, I'm Rob. It's the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Later.